Coming up tonight on the Don't Unfriend Me Show. All right, we are almost 5 by 5. Let's drop Leroy, and there he is. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Hope everyone is doing well. We have some good news tonight. Lots of good stuff. Oh my, got hit with a ton of bricks. Knowing Barry Morgenstein is a very cool thing. I will tell you. We have booked 4 guests in the coming weeks and months, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to tell you who the headliner is, but I will tell you this person has been on Joe Rogan 4 or 5 times, been on Jocko Willink's show, Marcus Luttrell's show, pretty much everywhere, and has one of the largest podcasts in the country. You're going to have to figure it out yourself. Shall we throw them a hint, Leroy? Or
yeah,
give them a little. I
mean, want me to do it?
We got to promise. No, not that type of hint. Your hint will be too obvious. I know it. It'll just lay it out there. I'm going to do a silhouette. We'll give them a silhouette, and they can try to figure it out. By the way, I believe we're going to get this person booked for the marathon night, which will be awesome. Here is the silhouette of the special guest. See if you can figure it out from there. That's all. That's it. That's all you get. You don't get any more. That's it. That's all you get. I would give you more, but one bite, everybody knows the rules. That's the way it works. Okay. We're covering a whole bunch tonight. You got to saw the intro. We're going to try to do that little intro that shows what we're covering. We're going to start out with Jesse Waters. He's on my sites, and Benny Johnson. I'm not very happy with either of them. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all the good news going on in the world, the economy, all of that stuff. Leroy's here tonight. We're going to have a blast. See ya. 3 minutes. The silhouette might be up again. I don't know.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, stop offering me. 'Cause I'm everything you want. Damn, show what you need. I won't tell no lies. Back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's dad.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me Show, otherwise known as The Dumb Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The Dumb Show on social media or thedumbshow.com.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Leroy and myself are in the house tonight. It is, what the hell, what's tonight?
Today is Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
It's very, very cold Tuesday here in Ohio.
Dude, we had to go pick up the wood because it's going to be 20 degrees tonight. So we have to go start a fire. Dude, that light is extremely bright. My God. Yeah, we got to go start a fire, dude. So it's insane. Sorry, folks. I forgot I was on tips tonight, so I got to reset the goal. Goal tonight's $300. As always, we appreciate you and thank you for helping out the Don't Unfriend Me show. Every time you donate, God saves a puppy, which that's important, right?
We love puppies. We like those new wolves that are being grown. I mean,
see, we're going to talk about that was bonus tonight. So it's wonderful you mentioned that, folks. If we actually hit overtime, we'll be talking about the dire wolves. And if you don't know about the direwolves, this is the place for you to watch and listen. We have confirmed our guest, and it looks like we've confirmed our guest for our. Let me find out. I'm getting messages from him. Yeah, he's going to be here for the fundraising night, and I haven't told him yet, but we're going to donate to his foundation 10% of the proceeds. So. Our goal is to raise $20,000, and this will go to a veteran charity. I usually donate to the Travis Manion Foundation, but they get enough from me each year. So we're going to give it to his foundation. It's just the right thing to do. And if I can help veterans, I'm going to do that. And this person, if he can help, sir, would you like to help veterans? Yes. He says yes. It's exciting.
I can see
nobody. It sounds like
is that a Nerf gun? That's what I think that might be.
Well, I could tell you what it is, but then it unfortunately would give it away. So I'm not going to tell anyone. There's people who've guessed so far. People say Kyle Rittenhouse, please. People have said Colin Noor. Somebody said Charlie Kirk. So this silhouette was a fantastic decision. And I'm not going to tell you even if you guess it, but I will tell you this: if you miss this night, you're probably going to miss like if we all of a sudden made it big, and I mean big. Yeah. I mean we're decent size. I mean we're probably in the top 2% of podcasts on Facebook, and pretty much digitally top 5% in the world for sure. We're there, but if we were to get top billet, get picked up by a major publisher and get a contract and get syndicated, this would be a person that would be in your top get for the year. That's how big this person is.
That's fair. That's fair. And not only would I completely agree with that, but this is like throughout most of the, we'll say, right-leaning society, anybody who follows anybody right-leaning at all, you're going to know who this is.
Oh yeah, immediately. Like I say his nickname and it's over. Like everybody knows. Yeah. Like if I even just there's but what's funny is that we have a history. So all I'll tell you is I haven't finalized because I want to talk to Chuck Pedersen, who is matching the donations, make sure he's good with all of this. But we're going to have this top billet in. Is it Joy Reid? Son of a bitch. Really, Joseph? I mean, why'd you have to blow it for everybody?
If you'd have said whoopee, I said you're almost there.
So, no, it's not Joy Reid. But I'm not pumping this up. Like, you know me. Like, when we had Ryan Weaver on, that's a big get. Ryan's a very popular guy. When we had Eli Crane on, that was a big get. When Roseanne endorsed us, that was a big get. And Hodge Twins and Judge, that was a big get. This is bigger than all of it. Honestly, if Roseanne came on for me, that would be like equal to this just because I love that lady. But she's cool. This is a big get. This is a huge get. And I'll tell you, we've got others that are we've got like 5 shows in the works right now. And this is to have that many. I mean, Barry's hooked us up and he has already said he wants to continue. So we're excited. You should be. Ollie North. Now that would be my personal get, but this person is probably more well known than Ollie North. Eli Crane. No, it's not. I'm not going to, because Eli was a previous guest. I'm not going to say anything else, but Chuck says he's good with it. All right. So here's the plan. We're going to pick the date. It's going to be dependent upon his schedule. We're going to bring in a couple of other people like Damani and get Ryan Samuels, get some people from the past. It's going to be a 5-hour show. Amy will be on for an hour. Leroy will be on for an hour. Liv will be on the whole thing. And then we're going to bring in the big headliner, and that will be not announced. It's going to be a shadow, a silhouette of who this person is. We're going to promo it. We're going to bring them on.
Shadow at night.
Yes, we're going to put a goal of 20,000 or 10,000 on there. We're going to be giving away a autographed piece of memorabilia that this person will sign that's worth a lot. Easily $500. And that's without autographs. Because it's not being made anymore. That's as much as I can do. Then we are going to give 10% of the proceeds to his charity. And he already agreed, but we're doing that. Because we give back to veterans here, and everything we make, we give 10% back. We're doing this too. So, and it'll be a great show. So let's get ready. I want to have Ollie North on. That is still a get for me. But we need to do the fundraiser first because I want to do the full show in the new studio. I want to invite people. We want to fly people in. So this is the beginning of all that. All right. Everyone excited?
Okay. I am.
So excited. Okay.
It's going to be a good.
I know. I just don't want to let the cat out of the bag. All right, let's get to it first. We got a lot to do. Donations will be handled by Olivia when she gets out of the shower.
Real quick, I need to step away, and I will be back in like less than a minute and a half. So don't change anything.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
That's okay, no problem. All right, we're seeing that we're getting some donations, so let's go ahead and talk about something real quick. Benny Johnson. No, not Benny Johnson. Not Benny Johnson. You guys are going to be guessing all night. I am excited for you guys to keep guessing. But this is going to be an amazing... I can't tell you what his charity... Carrie, do you think I'm that much of a fool? I'm going to tell you his charity. No. Listen, what did I do for a living? You're not going to get this out of me. Nobody's going to get it out of me. I'm not going to... I will not slip. I will. It's too big. It's too big of a thing. I want the suspense. I want you guys to show up that night and be like, oh my God. So I'm not going to tell you his charity. I will tell you his charity is fantastic veteran charity, and I'm excited to support it. Excited to support it. All right, let's get to it. We got too much to do. You guys keep guessing. Donations will be calculated by Olivia here in a few. All right, so first things first. I'm hoping I can stall until Leroy gets back. I guess I'll just do this quickly because usually we start the show. TheDumbShow.com/donate. You can go and donate over there if you want to see us hit our goal. We will have overtime. If we hit goal by 9 o'clock, we'll have overtime. From now on, we've got to start cutting it back a little bit. Karen, all good guesses. I'm not going to say anything. But we want to try to hit goal by 9 o'clock so we can do overtime. So let's do 9:15 since we're starting a little bit later. Am I going to tell if somebody guesses? No. No, I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm not going to tell anybody because it's a disservice.
No, let it be a surprise. This is one of those surprises you want it to be a surprise, and it's going to be worth the wait.
Yeah, this is great. This is great stuff because everybody has a personal and emotional connection to this gentleman if you know who he is. You know what I mean? Well, of course it's a guy. Yeah, I've already said it's a guy. I've given you that. It's a guy. Well, in today's world, you never know. I'll have to ask him. Like, listen, are you a Jem? All right. If you have not had a chance, please do me a favor. Twitter, share. There is a lot of rumblings, and I was going to wait, Leroy. I wasn't going to do this right away, but I was going to save this for overtime, and we still will have overtime. But we were talking about last night. Amy, you would have been proud of her last night. She brought up hypocrisy, and she's like, Trump is kind of being a hypocrite, and because he went after Biden, and because he went after Biden, for stocks and the crash of the market, that he shouldn't be, blowing it off like he is. And I was like, okay, it's a good point. So I remember an old Benny clip, and this clip. What day is this show? We don't to be announced. We have so much work to do. We've got to coincide schedules. We've got a ton of work to do. So I got to see if he wants to fly out, because he may not want to do remote. He may want to fly out. If he wants to fly out, then I'm totally down for helping him with it. This guy's amazing. All right. So let's shift gears. So I remember a Benny show in 2024 with the last stock market dip, and that was under Biden. And I'm like, and I was surfing Benny show, because I surf Benny show, and yeah, I'm gonna hit Benny tonight. And homeboy completely hypocrited himself, even though it's not a word. And I got pissed, because we're conservatives, right? We don't believe, we don't believe in taxes and taxing people, and you can't tax a nation into wealth and prosperity. Correct. We know this, and tariffs are a tax. But what we talked about last night was the whole reason that we have gross disparity in our trade market, why we have massive deficit in our trades, why we're seeing the devaluation of the dollar, has everything to do, because we have a free market, that these things took place, because we didn't put them in check.
Now, when you say devaluation of the dollar, I'm assuming you mean like today, like you're talking about the stock markets themselves, or are you talking about inflation?
I'm talking about inflation, which is stagnant, but I'm talking inflation is compounded. So the depreciation of the dollar is 25% less than it was this time last year, because of the compounded inflation that we had under Joe Biden. So to me,
what happened?
What? I don't know what happened. You're just frozen. It's probably because you interrupted me. I got disconnected. He'll be back. Here he is. Okay, let's see if he's back. Are you back? Okay, good.
I don't know what that was. My system just dropped offline.
It's a hiccup. It's the Chinese. They don't want us to have a successful show. So the devaluation of the dollar is based on global currency, but also that it's a compounded inflation, because once you inflate and you reach a certain point, whether it's 0.4%, because there's always inflation, but with 0.4% or 4%, that compounds quarter over quarter, and you never get it back, because prices never go down. And we simply know this. So we're 25% up over previous years. So when I say the devaluation of the dollar, I mean the dollar is worth less than it was last year. Now, it's always worth less than it was the previous year, because inflation is an ongoing thing. But it's the amount of money that Joe Biden, and we've talked about this, how this can take 25, 30 years to finally catch up to the overall markets because of the damage that he's done. Donald Trump is trying to do that in a very small window of 2 to 3 months, and that's by turning the globe on its ear.
Absolutely.
And so when I say we're conservatives, this is not a conservative move. This is an ultra aggressive, terroristic move on the global economy that has to be done to reset. If we're not going to go ahead and shrink the deficit, if we're not going to go ahead and find a way to sustain GDP at 4.5%, if we're not going to do it those ways, which are the conservative way, which is to have growth, which goes ahead and shrinks the overall spend, we're not going to do that. This is the way you can do it, and it remains to be seen if it's successful or not. That was my point. Go ahead.
I completely agree with that. I think that the speed at which he is trying to administer all of these changes does tend to go against the initial gut instinct for somebody who leans so far right to say, hey, look, this is so far aggressive that is this more like a page out of the Democrat playbook? I will say this. When I started examining the differences between the economy under Biden versus Trump, under Biden, the stock market was in fact up, but it was artificial. This is something Matt and I have talked about in the past. Inflation had such a, in this case, positive effect on the stock market, because when you have increased prices, right, and when you have an overall increase in the expense to perform your business, right? So if all of the commodities of your business go up price wise, if the cost of labor goes up price wise, if the cost of gas goes up price wise, and all of those things hit record highs, then just simple math says record high gas prices, record high labor costs, record high commodities costs means you're going to have record high profits. And no one from the left ever seems to want to understand that. At least under this administration, this has been a kind of a way to correct all of that. Yes, there's a little bit of a sting in the beginning, absolutely, and I think Trump alluded to that. He kind of gave warning to say, "Hey, look, there's going to be some discomfort here."
Yeah,
But
some
that
pain
has
points.
to happen. That has to happen for everything to reset back to where it should be,
Right.
to kind of undo what Biden had done.
But my point is that we're conservatives. So
Yes.
we do not believe you can tax the world into prosperity. And I will tell you that this is not what Donald Trump's trying to do. Donald Trump is trying to devalue oil. And the reason why is because it helps with energy efficiency, but most importantly, it cripples Russia, and which is a huge effort. It makes the EU forced to the table with us. It helps us become energy independent and export more energy. Most importantly, this is going to put China on its absolute nose. And the reason why is because many countries surrounding China are now saying no. Vietnam is shutting off of its islands and shutting off its chance. And what happened is China would route through Laos, they'd route through Vietnam, they would put it through Cambodia, they would put it through the Limnos Islands and circumvent any types of tariffs. But now with these new treaties, these new contracts, it is stopping China from being able to do that. Very soon, China is not going to be able to afford. We know they have energy issues. We know Russia's not going to be able to solve their problem because oil is going to go to $60 a barrel. Donald Trump is literally playing terrorist with the economy. And this is the best move that he can possibly make without trading rockets and bullets with these countries. He's also surrounding Iran with carriers and saying either you come to the table or we're going to knock you into the Stone Age. But what's funny about this is that I'm going to show you where Jesse Waters, I talked about this last night. You heard me this morning also make a video, and he stole every single thing I said, including about Syria. We're going to let Leroy touch on this first, but I'll get to Benny Johnson and then we'll go ahead and talk about this. But Leroy, you got 30 seconds. We got to move forward.
Okay, well, no worries. The big thing that I wanted to touch on is the fact that all of these tariffs, they affect every export-led economy in the world more harshly than it does the consumer-led economies. And we are, for the United States, we're a consumer-led economy. So again, who is the biggest exporter in the world? Well, that's China. So all of these tariffs that Trump is imposing, that's who it affects the most, because they don't have, if they are unable to sell their stuff, they need access to our market. If
Right.
they don't have it, they don't have enough population of their own to turn their own economy, consumer-led economy.
Right. They can't buy it. They can't buy their own stuff. They need the U.S. They can't afford it. Why? Because they have 9 major cities that are all like Dubai, and the rest of the country is impoverished and living in rural. I mean, it might as well be the Stone Age in some of these places. So great points, great geopolitical analysis. Him and I are talking the same language. But listen, I've stuck to the same program. I told you in 2020, stock markets are struggling. It's not reflective of the economy. When they were successful in 2022, it's not reflective of the economy. When they tanked in late 2022 and 23, I told you it's not reflective of the economy. When they were up under Donald Trump right away, I told you it was not reflective of the economy. In 2023, when they 2024 when they tanked under KAMALA, and now I'm telling you it's not reflective. Because here's why. Because we had the best stock market we have ever seen, 44,000 some odd in the Dow. Every market was crushing, and inflation was at an all-time high, almost 9%. Eggs, we saw the price. Gas, we saw the prices. Federal interest rates were higher than ever. It was horrible. The economy sucked. The jobs rate was bleeding. The wage increases weren't taking place. So you saw horrible economy and great stock market. Stock market is indicative of the top 3% in the United States. If long-term stock market doesn't do well, that is indicative of what happens. But these short-term blooms mean nothing in the sense of to the overall economic stability of our country. But it does impact people with 401k. And I don't like where Benny is saying these things. And it frustrates me, so we're going to talk about it tonight. But first, I want to show you a video where Benny must have actually, is renowned for kind of taking other people's content, and I'm ribbing him a little bit. It looks like he borrowed from the Transformers movie. I'm willing to get a copyright strike just so you can see this. First, I want to show you this quick little excerpt where this is actually Benny Johnson's body double in Transformers. Watch this little segment.
In the car, like I just put in that light there and that disco ball, so the light reflects off the disco ball. Yeah.
So why do I show you that? Well, because Benny wants to show you this. Benny's opening scene. Dude, listen, bro, as a person who lifts more than you, and a person, you tell me you run 4 miles and then do your weightlifting technique, which honestly is about as counterintuitive as punching yourself in the face if you want to have reconstructive surgery. Bro, this is so gym bro of you. Dude, you're totally trying to flex. And I know this because I've got the same size arms as you. And I would never. And I do it all the time. I grab,
that set looks an awful lot like yours. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And honestly, my arms are bigger, but it doesn't matter. That's fine. But dude, knock it off. But then I saw the content, and this I was cringe. And listen, Benny looks great for his age. He's a good fit guy, good looking family, making money. I rib him because he doesn't even know we have a little rivalry going on, but he must know a little bit because his set looks very familiar. But anyway, let's listen to this. And this is the hypocrisy that ticks me off.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. This is just the reality.
And then you cop to look at your arm, dude, okay? Because I know you've got the same monitor that I do, and you can see yourself, and you totally cop a look at your arm. And I caught you. It's right here. It's right here. You're totally spotting your flex.
You nothing.
Come on.
This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's bloody Black Monday. Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here.
Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history.
Listen, we all can be a little hypocritical. I can. But that's pretty blatant, is it not? Going from, oh my God, the sky is falling, the world's on fire, we're all going to die, to, hey, just lose money like a man would. You know, take it like a man. Take it standing up. Just take it in the shorts. Your retirement, sure, you can't retire for another 5 years. Suck it up, dude. Suck it up. What do you think about that message?
I think I saw a post, and it wasn't that long ago. It was like last week, where somebody had dug up an old Donald Trump post from his own social media company, Truth Social, where he had said, and it was something to the effect of, if the stock market ever dips by 10%, you need to impeach that president right away. And here, that is exactly what happened. And so 4 years later, now it's coming back to bite him. That's the problem with these catchphrase punchlines, right? Is that, first of all, the internet lives forever. And two, when somebody is cognizant of that, like we found that Pelosi thing the other day about the reciprocal taxes, that can come back to bite you. If you always remain on target, if you always, have that consistent messaging, you can never really be called a hypocrite. This is just one of those cases where it happens.
Yeah, bro. I totally get it.
You're like Eminem now. I get it.
So Leroy, I was wondering,
It's
got to stretch, bro. So I was wondering, man, I got to fix my mic. Hold on. All right.
You got a protein shake?
Actually, I do. So, but I just got done lifting, but I didn't have to tell everyone. So, Leroy, you and I was sitting at the table, and I was downing a Subway sandwich, and I watch Fox 5 every night because I do enjoy the 5. Do you want to know how many times? And people have told me too. They're like, they watch Hannity's show, and they're like, dude, Hannity just totally like did your segment. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or I watch and Jesse says something. Greg doesn't. Greg and I have the same points. But yeah, but Gutfeld always, he writes his own stuff. He's ridiculous. He's a genius. I'll be honest, I probably take more from Gutfeld than anything else because I like to put my own spin on it. But I've seen Judge take some things from my show. I've seen Jesse take things from my show. And I was sitting down, and for the first time, like I got the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I was pissed. Like, this is blatant. Like, Leroy blatant. Seriously. Like, okay, so let me explain why.
Why did you have to say it that way?
What do you mean?
Like Leroy blatant, like.
No. Like Leroy, blatant.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Not like Leroy blatant, like you're blatant. Are we sensitive? Are you having that not so fresh feeling? Because I wasn't saying it like that.
No, I couldn't tell by the way you said.
Okay, it was my pause was horrible because it sounded like I put 4 commas. I put
horrible.
My God, darn it, Jim! Klingons on the starboard bow. I'm a doctor, not a gynecologist. So here is the video. Now, 1992. It's November, and I'm 18 years old. I'm in Evergreen, Colorado, and I'm at the DMV. Total population of like 6,000. In the middle of the mountains, almost well over a mile high, almost like 11,000 feet. The flexing would work better if your audience, Matt, if you had short sleeves. Listen, anybody that can see the actual definition of somebody's arm in a hoodie has decent arms. I'm just letting you know, just a little FYI. So anyway, but you're right, maybe tomorrow. So my dad and I walk in, and we pull up in my dad's brand new Mercedes-Benz that he inherited from my grandfather. That's the guy who worked at Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works.
Yeah. I remember you saying.
Because he just died. And we're ready to vote. And he goes, Maddie, this is the most important thing you can do. And you need to vote for George Bush. And I said, no, I'm voting for Ross Perot. And my dad's like, you're wasting your vote. And I said, I don't care. I don't like George Bush because I had studied plenty of things about the Bushes during the John F. Kennedy assassination. I wasn't a fan. And I, of course, wasn't going to vote for, the sax blower. And so I just was like, I'm voting for Perot. And he's like, okay, but the reason I voted for Perot is because I watched the debate in October between George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot. And today, I went and I hunted down something that I remember from when I was 18 years old, dude. We're talking 33 years ago. Yes. Oh, God. That I remember this because it was palpable for me.
Right.
And I made a video on it today. I don't know if you've been watching, but we've been doing these 3-minute segments that have been doing well for the show lately. Really, really, really well on Facebook. And this is it. And then I'm going to play Jesse's segment. And I want you to watch this. And I want you to compare the last few things. Yep, 11,000 feet is just below the timberline. I know. We lived in Deckers, Colorado. It's 5,280 from Denver. And then you go up another 5,000 to 6,000 feet, depending on where you are. You can go all the way up to Mount Evans if you want to. And gosh, I think that's like 13.5. We lived at high altitude. That's why when I left Pine, Colorado, and I went down to Chicago, Great Lakes, I could do 1.5 miles, no problem up at altitude. I could do 3 or 4. And my RDC was trying to push us into oblivion, and I wasn't even having it. Anyway, here's the video. Watch this. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it is worth it. Here it is. If I take you back to July of 1992, there was a third-party candidate who had a real shot at winning the presidency. Now, people will tell you that this is impossible today. There's no chance that a third party could possibly beat the Republicans or Democrats. And that's pretty much true at this point. And they've made sure of it. Bernie Sanders had a lot of comeuppance and had a chance to do it in 2016 and 2020, but the Democrats made sure that he would never stand a chance. There's been other people who've tried, but in 1992, Ross Perot, a minuscule man, a Texas billionaire, decided to enter the fray, tired of seeing jobs leave the United States and the economy constantly remain stagnant. To his left was Bill Clinton, to his right was George Bush Sr., and both men mocked Ross Perot's vision of America, talking about free trade and unfair balanced trade, deficits that would continue to throttle American small business as we signed deals with foreign countries that were completely lopsided. This was foreign and completely different than any other candidate. And he was surging in the polls. In fact, at one point, he was ahead of George Bush and Bill Clinton, and they found this to be an immense threat to the political system. And what we know today is the uniparty. Ross Perot was castigated out, and he made some decisions to leave the party, and reasons why are variant in degrees. One is that he supposedly had his daughter threatened by George Bush, which doesn't seem to be that much of a stretch what we know about the Bush family now. But at the time, there were conspiracy theorists and people who said that he was crazy and unstable. But he left the election, came back in October, and still lost, but received 20 million votes and 19% of the popular vote. If he would have stayed in, most assuredly would have been the next president of the United States, as America was divided. But I want you to listen to this exchange, and I want you to see the faces of Bush and Clinton as they realize that their career dissipation lights are blinking red, and what a threat Ross Perot was to the system. Now, I voted for Ross Perot to be completely transparent, so did a lot of Americans, and not because I felt that he was the best candidate, but I thought he was the only one who actually told the truth. Watch this exchange. It is one for the ages, and sounds very familiar to one Donald J. Trump, and now you know America has been waiting for someone like that for decades. Watch this.
That's right at the top of my agenda. We've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out. Now, if you just want to get down to brass tacks, first thing you ought to do is get all these folks who've got these one-way trade agreements that we've negotiated over the years. You say, fellas, we'll take the same deal we gave you. And they'll gridlock right at that point because, for example, we've got international competitors who simply could not unload their cars off the ships if they had to comply. You see, if it was a two-way street, just couldn't do it. We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element, making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south. So if the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement.
All right, so that's fresh in your head, and I know you've got
spot on too.
Well, it is. He was ahead of his time, and the whole point sounds a lot like Trump. Okay, so you've seen that, and I know you've got things to say about it, and I want to give you that chance. So do your write down thing that you do, so you don't forget. But this was the 5. Now, I took one bite out of my sandwich, and it's always fun at the table because Olivia's like, you said that this morning, or, oh, we said that last night, and it's not one little thing. This entire monologue is verbatim what I just told you we talked about last night, and the viewers know, and today. And now it's to the point where this is no longer a coincidence. So, Leroy, this is how it started. And all he said was Ross Perot. And I said, that's it. And I was so ticked. And Olivia's like, oh my God, he's going to do it. Here you go. Just listen to this. Tell me this doesn't sound familiar, viewers from last night and now.
And it's what Democrats have been voting for decades, and Trump's actually the one doing it. You said something yesterday, Greg, and you reminded me of Ross Perot.
Ah, yes.
Not your size, but what you said. And I looked back at the debate with Bush and Clinton, and Ross was in the middle, and he said, you know, you could have our companies go south, and they could pay workers $1 an hour, not give them any health care, have no environmental regulations, have no pension, and you can make a ton of money. And what you're going to hear is a giant sucking sound coming south. And that's what happened. And the sucking sound also came from the east, and that's China. And now you're seeing what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to destroy China. Because if you break the Chinese economy, you put America back on top. Remember, the Chinese thought they were going to overtake us? It's not going to happen if this thing goes through. If you can cut off their exports, they're toast. You can't export all these cheap products here. You're definitely not going to sell them into Europe because they don't have the consumer power. And so the Chinese economy, they can't consume their own stuff because they don't have enough wealth and they don't have enough families, to be honest with you. And so you're going to have to lay people off, and then the whole country's going to disintegrate. So that's a good thing. And then you're breaking.
All right, you might have some coincidence here. And then this is just blatant ripoff.
China off from Russia. Because this Chinese economy is feeding the Russians, and right now you drop oil to $60 a barrel, so it starves Putin's war machine, and then you separate those two countries. So look what we're doing also at the same time in the Middle East. You have the Syrians, now they're on our side. They're proxies, now ours. And then you have carriers surrounding the Iranians.
You son of a...
And we're saying you better negotiate, not nuke up, or we'll bomb. And if they can do a deal there, that's the second Russian proxy that falls, and we'll get that Iranian oil back on the world market, and it keeps the price of oil going lower. We need cheap energy. And then the Europeans, they don't have another game. They have to sell here. They can't sell it anywhere else. And what you're seeing is the EU trade bloc starting to break. Hungary's trying to do a bilateral deal. Your English are going to start trying to just negotiate directly with us. And it splits Germany from France, and then you throw in the Greenland thing.
Of course.
And then you throw in the NATO thing, because right now Pete Hegseth's going, we might bring
last night we took
some troops home. So they're really off kilter. You've now surrounded the Chinese. They thought the Chinese were going to cut deals with the Japanese and the South Koreans. Didn't happen. Thought it was going to cut deals with the Europeans. Didn't happen. And Trump sent Hegseth down to the Panama Canal. He's saying it's ours. And we're wrestling TikTok away from that country, too. Everything is moving perfectly at the same time. But Dana's right. You have to have the tax and regulation cuts in order to finish it off.
That was very thorough.
Oh, yeah. It really,
I wasn't listening, but it sounded thorough.
It was
It
very
sounded thorough, right?
Can I have a judge? Can I have a judge and jury, please? Just anybody. So.
Oh, no. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. You know, he's only been saying exactly what we've been saying on the show, for, I don't know, the last 3 years.
I don't think he's stealing. I think it's one of his writers, because Judge does it too. And I don't think it's him. I really don't. I like Jesse. He's very creative. I just think one of their writers watches the show. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they go ahead and borrow content and get ideas? Everyone does it, but you've got to give accreditation. You've got to just say, hey, dude, why don't you write some stuff for us? Or, hey, thanks a lot. Or let's have Leroy on as an analyst. But it's a little, dude, that's a little blatant, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's no need to reiterate those facts. We've already hit on them. You know, by the time when it was 2023, the U.S. was worth $27 trillion in GDP. China was at 19.4. And there's a huge gap there. They were never going to overtake us. They're going to die out by 2030, population-wise, long before they can ever overtake us economically. Yeah. And so when you think about Trump's tariffs, really what they are, honestly, is they are a protectionary measure for U.S. workforce. That's all they are. It's the fee that he can charge another country to participate in the American economy, which is the biggest economy in the world, bar none.
This is why you and I have been saying this for years, is that China, their threat is that they are very similar to where the Japanese were. They are interdependent on everyone outside the South Pacific. And Japan, when they were embargoed and quarantined off, they realized that they had to take as much property. A lot of people don't understand when they struck Pearl Harbor, they also attacked 16 other countries. Most people don't know this, but the Japanese were very much like the Nazis in the Blitzkrieg, is they took as much real estate as they possibly could. Louise, thank you so much. Louise, I always do that. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
too.
Lois, I know your name 100,000 times over. I just get confused sometimes. No, I can't. My show is copyrighted, but understand this. That's not what I'm saying. We all borrow from each other, but I don't plagiarize people.
It could also be that we just have similar points.
No,
right?
Come on.
You don't think?
Dude, Ross Perot from 1992, he made that connection 6 hours after I made a video that 30,000 people have seen. Come on. Dude, that is an obscure passage in one debate from freaking 30 some odd years ago. And then to also say everything about Syria, the way he said it, to say everything about the Middle East, about the carrier groups, which we talked about the last time. Come on, dude, there's too much. It's just, even the whole point about China and energy, you and I have been banging that drum for how long? So, no, but here's the point. I don't want to go do that. I'm not petty like that. I don't care. I think when people mimic you, it is a form of flattery, and it doesn't bother me. And there are people who I emulate and I really admire that I take an idea that they have. But what I don't do is I don't say it word for word and dress it up because I have a multi-billion-dollar platform and I know I'm untouchable. That's just not cool. And Benny does that shit. And honestly, Fox does it too. Why don't you have us on? Why don't you put someone who looks like Leroy and I on and watch at how articulately we can go ahead and convey a message, but you would have no idea because you judged it on a hoodie or a t-shirt or a hat, which is, we dress up for a living. We don't want to. I have no desire to wear a tie. I don't have a desire. So that's it. I know it was word for word. Everyone has listened to this show knows, but you know what? What bothers me, honestly, is that our viewership should be higher. And I would love to see it be in those numbers, but you know what? That's the way it is. All right, we got too much to do tonight. DOGE, there are rumors, huge rumors.
Huge rumors.
This one's big. They are saying,
how big, Matt? I need to know.
Huge. John Holmes, huge. They're saying that DOGE found something massive. And from my understanding, the Department of Justice is involved, FBI is involved, and it is a massive lift. Like, massive. There are rumors, and I'm going to cover the rumors. None of this is confirmed. George Soros and his son have been rumored as a possible indictment based upon their involvement in BLM and paying for these anti-Jewish groups and Hamas supporters and Summer of Love BLM and providing bricks and tear gas and all this other stuff and funding these people. That is the first thing. There's rumors that they have found massive election fraud when it comes to finance. But there's a lot of rumors right now. Here is something that just dropped this morning about DOGE. I want you to listen to this, Leroy, and get your comment. Thanks for letting me vent on Jesse Waters. This one should be interesting for you. Watch this.
Fox to reveal what's really going on. DOGE exposed our immigration asylum disaster. That was the tip of the iceberg. Now, here's the story. DOGE has found that immigration gave a work authorization document to illegals just 5 months after they filed for asylum. That document allowed them to work while they waited to hear whether their asylum request had been accepted or denied. So they could work as an illegal, knowing it would take years before their case was heard. The Immigration Department mailed them a Social Security number. No interview, no proof of identity. Just put it in the mail. Here's your number. In 2021, DOGE says 270,000 new aliens were issued Social Security numbers. 590,000 in 2022, 964,000 in 2023, and 2.1 million in 24, right before Biden left office. DOGE also discovered that 1.3 million aliens are now receiving Medicaid. Millions received driver's licenses, some registered to vote, and DOGE says some actually did vote. Try and square that against Democrat claims that Musk is destroying Social Security and cutting Medicaid. He's not destroying. He's weeding out people who don't qualify. Who is really guilty of misinformation in this case? It is not Elon Musk.
Here is the last 21-second video. I want you to listen, and then I want your comment.
Discovery that the DOGE. The president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the DOGE team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release.
All right.
The president on Thursday.
So, Leroy, your thoughts on this? I want to give you plenty of time because you've allowed me to ramble on. This one's yours. Go for it.
Well, I'll say this. So many times the left will point fingers to Fox and say everything that's on that channel is just blatant misinformation, that they're there to brainwash their audience. And a lot of times we do the same thing. We will point to the other outlets like MSNBC, CNN. In this case, boy, does it seem like they got it right. And if that's true, right, and if X number of people have been given driver's licenses and Social Security cards, should you be upset? Should you be upset at the fact that you pay whatever your particular tax bracket is per year, right? And of that money, some portion of that has found its way to fund Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, or some other program to people who should not be here legally, who are not here legally. Should you be upset at that? I think yes. I mean, that just makes perfect sense to me. And for everyone to attack Elon Musk and DOGE and say that he really hasn't found anything yet, when that's patently not true. When you go to doge.gov, it tells you what the numbers are.
Right.
And so none of there's a level of transparency that we have been saying, we've been asking for, demanding it, right? From the Democrats too. But now that it's here, it's like if it exposes anything that was taunted by Pelosi or by AOC or Chuck Schumer, if it was anybody on the left and it pulls the curtain back on that Mr. Wizard style, or Wizard of Oz style rather, then all of a sudden, no, we don't want to hear it. That's lies. That part of it is lies. We have covered this on the show before. There is something called the type 1 and a type 2 logical error. And you can either accept lies or reject truths. And if you can't get that right, you will continue to fail, not only as a party, but you will inflict that upon the country as well.
Good points. Well said. Listen, we'll wait and give it to you up in the upcoming weeks and months. I went off last night. You heard me. I want arrests. I don't care about what they find. I want the people responsible held accountable. And I want the Epstein list. I want people who visited the island for sexual trafficking. I want them arrested. Let's get indictments going. Let's go. Either A or B, one of the things. I want to know if the Republicans are lying just as much as liberals and Democrats.
Absolutely.
The only way to find that out is to either get these indictments or shut up. And I am tired of hearing about the Uniparty, and I'm tired of hearing about Burisma and Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton. Either convict these people or just do your jobs and shut up, because this whole soap opera I'm tired of. We'll be right back with a break, folks. $21.10 so far in a goal. Yeah.
The Dumb Show is built on real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and fearless. Big Tech didn't like that. Facebook pulled our funding, tried to shut us down. But for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time, and we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving to feel like a burden. We want it to feel good. So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or Mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation, we appreciate you more than words can say.
You may not be able to donate. We understand. Times are tough right now. It's hard. People are trying to figure out about 401k and how much eggs are and gas and all that. But what you can do is really simple, which is what every content creator asks, is can you throw me a like, a share, and a subscribe? We ask for a reason because they don't promote us. Facebook hates us. We use the donation so we stay afloat and can bring you a show every single night. Folks, it's not cheap. We're not Ben Shapiro. We don't have millions, $10 million a year coming in. We're not Joe Rogan. We don't have that. This is paid for us. There's nobody behind the scenes. It's all out of my pocket. It's all out of Olivia's pocket and Amy and Leroy's blood, sweat, and tears. We think it's worth $300. We think that that's fair, considering that half of that goes to streaming. We need your help. So if you can do it, great. If can't, that's fine. There's 130 some odd people on right now, just on Facebook and Twitter. And that's not including the other 100 on Rumble and Wimkin and the rest of the networks. Do me a favor, please just hit a like. We're at 87 right now with 137 people on. We should be able to crush that with just hitting the like button. Solve the puzzle there, Leroy.
Yeah, let's see here. Mesothelioma, hero.
Mesothelioma. It's not bad. It's close.
Hero,
I think you might
Achilles.
And you still think it's mesothelioma?
No, I don't know.
What is it? Mythological hero.
Methamphetamine. No.
Yes, methothyroid. Methohyptothemia. So this is we don't have a Benny Brigade. No, we have Dumb Nation, and we're better. Education is going down the tubes. I thought this was just perfect for college week at Wheel of Fortune. Watch this. This is epic DEI hire, I tell you what.
Whoa.
Yeah. 4 L's. Pick that up, turn it over. Lay it down right over that London trip down there.
See, I hate that. Then you should get $4 million for all those L's. But that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. I hate this show. If you've lost your sound, all you got to do is go out and come back in, folks. It's Facebook screwing with you to keep my numbers low. Just like they freeze it, too, or say this feed is no longer available. How do you fix that? Go to Wimkin. You can always go to Wimkin, folks.
Y. There's a Y. 500.
G.
1 G.
Q.
C.
Oh.
Yeah, there are 2 C's. Wow. Okay.
Hey.
I solved.
Oh, that'd be a good idea, yeah.
Mythological hero H-list.
Yeah.
Mythological hero H-list. Mythological hero H-list. Mythological hero H-list.
You can't accept that.
Okay.
Shelby.
I'll solve.
Yeah.
Mythological hero Achilles.
Yeah, that's it.
Can't take that.
Boy, when it comes to names,
This guy's like, holy shit.
Oh,
I am a meme.
Public TV.
And even though the letters are up there, because you have
like that cracker stole my money.
I had a friend of mine who was on that show. Won a car.
Really?
Yep.
Like, won a car.
A Master Chief.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, the taxes on it must have been.
I don't know.
Oh, God. Well, about half of America say public K through 12 education is going in the wrong direction. And with mythological hero H-list is it's to be expected. Listen, Greek mythology is a freshman course, if I'm not mistaken, in high school. My daughter's taking it right now. About half of U.S. adults, 51%, say the country's public K through 12 education system is generally going in the wrong direction, far smaller than the share of 16 that say it's going in the right direction. So huge numbers of disparity. Democrats, Republicans who say public education is going in the wrong direction. Schools are not spending enough time on core academic subjects, 55% to 79% Republican. Teachers are bringing their personal, political, and social views in the classroom, 23% Democrats, 76% Republicans. Schools don't have the funding and resources they need, 33% Republicans, 78% Democrats. Parents have too much say in the decisions about what schools are teaching, 13% of GOP says that, 46% of Democrats say that. The numbers are massive, but really, truly, the last 67 years of the public education system has been an abysmal failure. When we didn't have the Department of Education, we were actually ranked top in STEM in all categories. Yeah, in most of them. When it came to literacy, math, science, English, these things were something we were proud of. And then the Department of Education was born, and we have exponentially, drastically, a reverse hockey stick down into the worst parts of major civilized countries. Leroy.
Why is that? Why would that possibly be?
Well, give an answer.
You want me to give the? Oh, sure. Okay.
What's your thoughts? I mean, I've got thoughts too.
Whenever you fully fund, whenever the government gets involved and says, hey, states, we are going to mandate this for you, and you have to do what we say, otherwise we're going to pull all this magical funding. Thank you very, very much, the Kevster, for the $10.80. When government officials start getting charged with crimes, we can begin to trust the government again. How so? Yes. Very, very true. Look, every time the government gets involved and starts trying to mandate programs down to the states, they screw it up, right? And using things like funding as a threat, teach what we want you to teach, or we're going to pull this funding and give it to somebody else. What would any state do, right? You're going to course adjust for your curriculum to make sure that you get that money. And in the meantime, right, scores have just plummeted. Things were going so much better when the states were in charge.
Well, let's talk about what the behaviors are, because the federal government actually, a lot of people give the post office a pretty hard time. Now, it constantly needs stimulus because it's never been profitable, but they can deliver a letter across the United States in 3 days, which is pretty spectacular for a fairly reasonable price. So there's some things we do right. I think we do the military fairly correct. There's a lot of things that we do well, and there's things that we don't do well. But this is the no child left behind mentality that's the problem. You can't tell kids the hard, cold truth, is that not every one of them are going to be the next president of the United States. Some of them are going to be ditch diggers. Some of them are going to be welders. Some of them are going to work retail. And what bothers me is that everybody has a high school counselor, a guidance counselor, to sell them on some sort of future, that there is some magical class that will not turn them into anything other than the dipshit that they already are. Now, maturity level is something that we do not scale inside schools. And that is something that was imperative. We would hold people back because their maturity level wasn't indicative of the grade they were in. That no longer happens. We move kids forward based upon academic testing, not because of their maturity level is conducive. Some people are just simply too old to be in classes with younger people. Mentally, they are advanced, and it's holding them back to be in a slower class. The best example I give you is T-ball or organized baseball. My son was supposed to join majors. He can't. So they put him in sophomores. The reason why is because he has to do it again, because he's not good enough for majors. And that's just the way it works. And when they tried to bring him up on majors, I said, what are you doing? They said, well, we're going to pass him through because he's in this age group. And I said, I don't care. Put him down a level. And they said, why? And I said, because he's going to ride the bench in the majors and not learn anything. At least he could play hard, learn something that he didn't pick up last year in sophomores. We need to hold kids back again. We need to put them on that path of maturity, and that should be the first thing we're focused on. And unfortunately, when everything is based on academic test scores, that don't matter because the schools aren't rated on their scores. They're only rated on their attendance. Let me say that again. They're not rated and funded on their scores, on grades. They are only funded on standardized testing, which are provided by the state and federal government, and attendance. That's not an incentive for each child to have strong academic breadth of knowledge. So until we change this, it's never going to get fixed. Too many kids in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's an excellent point. It makes you wonder about, we've all heard that statistic that basically says that if a child is homeschooled, generally speaking, they are better educated than their public school counterpart, right? And for a public school child who is not affiliated with the Department of Education, they are generally better educated than their DOE counterpart, right? And so
Right.
there's a trend line there, right? There's 3 points of data that you can examine to basically say the more involved you are with your child's life, specifically with their education, and making sure that you not only instill some level of discipline, but also intellectual curiosity, right? The more that you get involved with your child's life, the better they're going to do. And that also lends really, really well into the idea that fathers are important, because generally
Right.
speaking, they tend to be the disciplinarians.
Right. Yeah. And listen, your job is to give children the understanding of what a trade will look like in real life. And whether that's economics or whether that's English or literature or science or home ec, or you're going to run some sort of tech or programming, you give them a view into the future to expose them to different trades. That's what school is. School is designed so people can get a job. That's it. And people are like, oh, it's for an education so I can better myself mentally. No. A library card can do that. An Amazon subscription to Kindle can do that. What you're doing is getting the qualifications necessary to seek gainful employment and the qualifications to do so. How are we doing on donations, babe? Oh God, can I have some water? So until we start doing that again, this is the outcome. We're training kids how to not be disappointed, not how to succeed.
It's while you're downing that, I will say that there was a really great line that I saw from, it was a Sylvester Stallone TV show called Tulsa King, where they talk about like, well, why do I want to go to college? I'm not the college type. And he's like, you're not going to college for an education. You're going there to establish a pattern. You're going there to prove to a employer that once you get that piece of paper that you went for 4 years. You went for 4 years, showed up basically on time to all your classes, and had just enough responsibility to turn in papers on time. It's nothing more than a tool, a piece of paper that shows that you had enough discipline to get through those 4 years, not necessarily that you learned anything. Because if that were the case, 73% of the people who have a degree do not work in the fields for which they have that degree.
Correct. And the last thing I'm going to say, and I just want to be clear. I don't have a college degree. Do I strike you as dumb? Okay. So let's establish that. I've worked in multiple roles as a vice president where a 4-year, if not a master's, is necessary in order to hold the position.
Yep.
And I had the position. How is that possible? Because experiential learning. That's why. And because I don't care how good of a degree you have. I don't care what tie you wear. I don't care what type of suit you wear. I don't care if you polish your vernacular where you sound like a 14th century Renaissance. I don't care if you can go ahead and write theses and papers that ultimately will revolutionize the economic drive of every major retail company in the world, or solve every molecular problem that is unsolvable when it comes to physics or chaos theory or whatever it may be. If you are an asshole and can't convey your message, you're unhireable. But if you happen to be a decent human being who can convey your message articulately without alienating yourself, it really doesn't matter if you have a degree. Because here's the thing. Every single one of those jobs, I'm just going to lay it on the table. I told them I had a degree. I lied. Because I wasn't going to let that stand in my way. So every single job that I had when I came out of the military, I was working towards my degree. But in order to get gainful employment, I said I had a degree. And guess what? No one ever looked and no one ever questioned because I articulate myself in a way where no one would ever guess that I didn't go to college. So I had to go and earn that. But I would be damned if I was going to go ahead and work at McDonald's and not cut my teeth while I was going to college. So was it wrong? Sure. Call me the Elizabeth Warren. I'm 1024th a college graduate. Now, does that mean I didn't have a college education? No, because I went to college. I just didn't graduate. I didn't go for my last 6 hours. But it doesn't matter. The point is you got to do whatever you can to succeed. So early in my career, I fibbed. And then I went ahead and busted my hump to get better. I busted my ass to succeed. And I got fired from jobs. I got hired from jobs. I got promoted in jobs. I got demoted in jobs. And eventually I got to a point where honestly the college degree did not matter. Exactly. So you don't need a 4-year degree to be successful in life. You just don't. What you need is the ability to articulate, to grow, to have self-awareness, to have managerial courage, to learn leading out, to have team build, inspire, to be able to hire and develop talent. If you can do those things, you will be successful. What is my degree in? Criminal justice and political science and business. So when I got out of the military,
ask everyone who has claimed to have a political science degree, I always want to ask them, which way do you lean? Just something I've always wanted to do, like every one of them.
That's funny because so when I first started, I almost have you went to college?
Yeah,
I tried to. Did you use your
I have
military?
A fair amount of
okay,
I did.
So did you? Yeah, so you got pretty much like 36 credit hours straight out of the military, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Leroy and I almost had our associates the moment we got out of the military, based upon the schools we went to. That's fairly standard for Intel school. You go to Nuke, you pretty much have an engineering degree when you get out. You go to Intel, you have all the prerequisites because you've got map reading, you've got geography. I mean, you've got so many different things that you can apply towards, like all your electives are taken care of, but even your applied sciences are. So my first degree that I went towards was criminal justice and poli-sci because I wanted to get in the FBI. Little did I know that my injuries were too extensive and I wasn't going to be a cop either. I couldn't do it. So later in life, I went to the University of Phoenix online and majored in business. So 2 very different tracks, but he's right. I mean, what the hell could I do with political science and criminal justice and retail? Nothing. So I did some campaign work in Wyoming, in a gubernatorial race and a state legislature and city council race. But overall, I didn't use my degree at all for almost 20 years until I went back for my my business degree. But the point is, you don't need a degree to be successful.
No, you
Okay?
don't.
You just don't.
It really comes down to some level of motivation, discipline, and if you have been taught effective communication, if you have been taught to when you engage with someone, to convince them of your perspective, right? Then you're going to do just fine.
Education is not school. That's not what education is. Education is the practical application of logic and deductive reasoning in everyday life. That is education. And I know many people with 4-year degrees. I know doctorates who could not find their ass with 2 hands and a flashlight in the middle of the afternoon.
I know plenty of them.
I know a bunch of them. And I know people who have absolutely no degrees who I would follow into any situation that required the brain box to be kicked into overdrive. It's just
completely.
I've never had a conversation with a person where I said, geez, this conversation would be so much better if you had a degree. I've never said those words in my life.
Right.
Never
That's
said
never
those
been
words
a
in my life.
qualification for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Never said that. Right. Like, this would be so much better if you actually did the job that we're talking about. That's different than saying, hey, I wish you would have went to school for this. I don't think I've ever said that to anybody. And when people are like, you need to read a book, I'm like, which book?
Right.
Which book would you like me to read that can explain to me how I can pull my head so far up my ass so I could understand you? Which book is going to...
Isn't it funny that that's the argument that you hear from the left all the time, which is basically an appeal to authority argument that basically
Right.
says, look, I have the degree in this field, you don't. So
Right.
therefore you must listen to me.
Right.
Where and what that requires is for you to throw all your deductive reasoning out the window and just trust that person. Like, is that science? No, it's
Right.
not. Like, you
Right.
have to go through the steps each and every time in order to arrive to a conclusion, right? But that's
Yeah.
not what they want. They don't want to be questioned.
No, and there's a reason why college professors have you do a thesis at the end of, your BA or,
Or their BS and BS.
right, your BS, and the reason why, it's pretty simple. They want to assure that you have assimilated to the proper level of thinking for accreditation. That's not education. That's conformity.
Brainwashing.
Yeah, that's not it. I mean, one of the best political science professors that I had he was a Democrat, bleeding heart liberal, and I was ultra conservative, and he gave me an A+, and he hated me. He even told me, he's like, Matt, if I never see you again, it won't be too soon. But I will tell you, you are one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life when it comes to politics. You just get it. And everything you say, I fundamentally disagree with, and I find zero value in, except the fact that you say it better than anyone else I've heard say it. You're going to get an A+ for it. So
that's fair.
And I felt the same way about him. I thought he was a complete, just blowhard, bleeding heart dick. But when he died, I went to his funeral. So go ahead.
One of my favoriteest TV shows of all time, and it was very, very left leaning, right? But it was a TV show called Boston Legal, and it starred Bill Shatner and James Spader, and most of the episodes, and in the show, they painted James Spader as this far left-leaning Democrat, stand up for the little guy, anti-gun, all this, right? And Bill Shatner was the exact opposite. He was this hardcore Republican who, like the show painted him to be pretty racist and pro-gun and like all this other stuff, right? But each and every show always ended the same way. It was them on the balcony of their law firm, each sharing a scotch, right? Where they just talked about their perspectives on whatever the case was or how they arrived to their that particular political decision in life. And I thought that was really interesting. So I love that idea. I love that the left and the right can talk, but having that chat in a civil manner is a different thing, right? You have to have that respect for each other.
Right. No, you don't have to, but if you want to learn something, right?
I mean at a personal level.
No. I'm just saying, because those things don't happen anymore. Like college professors basically punch you in and you do a telecourse. There's no challenge of your thought. There's nothing. They run it through a chat GPT and grade it and spit out some sort of nonsense against what you do. And they don't even know you. They don't even know your name. I mean, at least sleep with your students, for God's sakes, and get to know them.
I'll volunteer.
Wait a second. Okay. Where does Remus and Romulus come from?
The constellations, right? Those are that was taken from, I think Star Trek pulled some inspiration from that, but ultimately those are planets, right?
Yep. Roman mythology, but also planets and constellations. The twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. And Star Trek did pull inspiration from that. So very good. Romulan ale, to be exact. Yummy. They are also dire wolves that were bred by colossal. Well, I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm excited to do so. And this one will be fairly quick. Biotech company says it has bred 3 pups with traits of the extinct dire wolf. Romulus and Remus, the pups with the dire wolf traits that were bred by Colosso Biosciences, pictured at 3 months old. Yeah, that's 3 months.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
That's why. Now you want to know the difference of a dire wolf? That's right. A biotech company said it has bred these 3 animals. Colosso Bioscience. Our team took DNA from a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old skull and made healthy direwolf puppies. It was once said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Today, our team gets to unveil some of the magic they're working on. Colosso also announced that it had bred 4 cloned red wolves, the most endangered wolf species in the world, and it says its technology could be used to help threatened animal populations across the globe rebound. Some in the scientific community are pushing back. It's all very misleading, a professor of biological science said. It is not a dire wolf. It is a gray wolf clone with some mutations that make it superficially resemble a dire wolf. Okay, dude, shut up. It's close enough. I cannot believe it's not butter. It's butter, okay? Grey Poupon. The company used what it learned about the dire wolves from the ancient DNA to modify the cells of the modern gray wolf, blah, 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 blah. Dire wolves were distinct species genetically distant from gray wolves. You can't bring back a species just making another animal look vaguely familiar. And the criticism goes on and on and on. Quickly, what do you think about this?
You know, the whole thing, it just, it screams Jurassic Park, does it not? That whole argument that they had at the dining room table where they talk about, you know, well, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think whether or not they should.
Right.
Right. And so, but there was that whole argument that the owner of the island had that said, condors have been extinct for 3,000 years. If I brought back a fleet of condors, you wouldn't have anything to say about it. And I think that raises a really good point, right? Are we taking this too far? In this case, it's only 3 wolves. They're not going to be able to reproduce because there wouldn't be genetic diversity within the group. Maybe, we hope. But what's the next big breakthrough? Like, are we going to start bringing back like that giant alligator that's going to get out? Or, I mean, like, what's the next thing? What's going to be the next cosmetic creature that we're going to create and really turn
Velociraptors. Velociraptors
right.
would be good.
Do you think that's a bad idea?
Yeah, they do. I think they should do woolly mammoth because I've always thought that those would sound really tasty on the barbecue.
Actually, they are. They're trying to bring back they're trying to hybridize a woolly mammoth with a mouse right now. And the idea is that the mouse would be ultra hairy, I guess. I don't know.
Listen, I think this stuff is stupid. They've had their time on Earth. I don't think we should be making giant wolves. I don't think that's really a great idea. Because here's the thing. At some point, the technology that we create will kill us. Whether it's artificial intelligence or it's some lab-grown something like COVID that has a level 5 capability to be a global killer. But also, can you imagine dire wolves getting out and breeding with regular wolves and creating some sort of hybrid wolf that weighs 2 tons, that is 12 feet tall? And yes, we have tanks and missiles, but it would only take about 10,000 of those to wipe out the greater continent of the United States, okay? I have no desire to create some sort of super wolf species. We have puma and cheetah, and those things should be killed. Like all cats outside of domestic house cats should be murdered.
Yeah.
They're
Every
terrifying.
time there's a, I think Konstantin Kisin talks about it on one of his shows. He talked about something called the Cobra effect. And it was when like India was infested with cobras or rats. It was rats. And so they brought on all these snakes to like contend with the rats. And now there's these snakes. And every time a government or somebody says, hey, let's get involved. Like I think Florida did this too. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara donated $25. Says there it goes. My go for the real story. Well, thank you.
Good job, Barbara. Thank you, hon. You're the best.
Barbara. Like every time man gets involved with these things and we start bringing in species to places where they don't belong, like the reticulated pythons in Florida or the snake story from India, like bad things happen and it wipes out entire ecosystems.
Right.
And for all of the environmentalists who sit there and just shout for, more green energy, more this, more that, every time we go and mess with the ecosystems or the environment and something like this happens, it just seems like it's always a negative effect. Does it not?
Right. Yeah. Like, I think we should try to install Cornish pixies. Like, I think that would be fun to release in the Ukraine. Just Cornish pixies just flying around and creating mischief and havoc.
Unicorn?
Who cares? Who cares? Unicorns. Unicorns would be good. Then we can drink their blood and have eternal life like Voldemort. I mean, all good stuff. Who cares? Leave it alone. Why don't we do this? Why don't we focus on shit that can impact today versus things about yesterday?
Right.
I don't care about the American condor because it's a buzzard. Just because you gave it a cool name, it's a vulture. I don't care. Kill it. I'm sorry. I just don't care. And I don't care about dire wolves. I don't want one. My dog is 63 pounds. She's 6 months old. My dog is going to be a freaking Great Dane. What happened? I don't know. When I got her, she was a little puppy. She weighed like 10 pounds and she was adorable. This dog can stand up now and put her hands on my shoulders. Dude, since you've been here, bro, she's put on like 25 pounds and she's like 3.5 feet tall on her back. She's probably 4 feet at her head. So my dog, like, I'm gonna, like, it used to be, Ash, you come here. Now it's like, Ash, come here, maybe? Just
right.
I don't want to upset you. I don't want to upset you, honey.
Like, we've been doing this for a long time. Like, did you ever see that thing with the liger? Do you know what that is? It's a combination between a tiger and a lion, where they take like a male, I think it's a male lion with the mated with a female tiger, or it might be vice versa. But the results are that you get a cat that is literally twice as big. And fortunately, they're extremely docile, but they could never live on their own in the wild because in order to keep the thing just at its proper weight, it has to eat 55 pounds of beef every day.
What?
55 pounds. These things are ginormous. Pull up
How much beef is on a full cow? Like 350, 400 pounds? So we've got to eat like a cow a week?
I don't know. These things are ginormous. And it's like, we need to stop messing with Mother Nature to some degree,
Yeah,
right?
dude, that's some weird shit right there. Yeah, but there's only a few hundred pounds of beef on a cow. At 55 pounds.
Might have been a week. I'm not sure.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know. A velociraptor tears through a full cow every couple days. So, according to, he gets them from the sternum, a little claw. Okay, moving on, folks. We got stuff to do.
Join WimKen.com, the social media platform built for free speech and true connection. No censorship, no algorithms controlling your feed, just genuine conversations and a commitment to protecting your rights. Sign up today at WimKen.com and take back your voice. Tell them Matt and the Dumb Show sent you.
It's a slow donation night. 56.90 out of 300. It's not looking too good. We got about 30 minutes, folks. Let's see what happens. We would love to crush overtime because we got some good stuff for you to cover tonight. Byron Donalds, the black guy, is a race traitor and a fascist. I just thought you'd want to know. Who knew, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea. But, of course, liberals just never get tired of keeping black people where they belong, under their thumb, as long as it's white liberals. Here it is.
To agree as a member, hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am, but as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans-State Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this fucking insane attack
Oh, look, it's Benny Johnson.
on our children who know who they are.
Number one.
A cow brings around 750 pounds of meat. Who would have known? It's so
like my
ill
mother-in-law.
proportioned. Yeah, that's so ill proportioned to the human body. You know what I mean? Because our muscle mass is only like 50% of our overall body weight. That's incredible. Wow. 750 pounds after butchering. I had no idea. Thanks for educating me. I didn't know. I thought it was well under 400. But I guess that makes sense. What's the average cow weight? 1,200 pounds? 1,000 pounds?
I can
Head of
go weigh my
cattle?
mother real quick.
Yeah, I know. I heard the first time. I was trying to keep you out from getting shot. So, ladies, what's the next one? What's the overall weight of a cow? Let me know. But let's watch Benny here. Benny's thinning in his hair, but I have a much better head of hair. Sorry, I want to tell you.
Children who know who they are.
Number one.
Holy shit, everybody knows so much about cows. 50 to 60% live weight for beef, 600 to 6.5 pounds per steer. Really? So they're 1,200 pounds. I was right. So they're pretty heavy. 1,200 pounds. Oh my God. Well, that makes sense then, because 350, 400 would be a very skinny cow, I would assume. 13 to 15,000 overall weight for a cow? That's a big cow. You sure it's not a dire cow? All right. Well, now you guys know. See, this is. If I don't know something, I'll tell you. I was
that's
just
a
guessing.
liger cow. That's a cow
Yeah,
mated with a gorilla.
That's like Olivia, or that's like, I'm not going to say it. I can't.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Let's watch the rest. I know. 1.3K. Okay, cool. 1,200 pounds. All right.
What? No. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor, and you are a fascist.
I said I don't agree, and then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor, and you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am? I'm a constitutionalist. Ma'am, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in everybody's freedoms and rights. But if I don't agree, but hold on. But when I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden I'm a fascist. That's what's wrong. If all you want to do is yell and scream and curse when I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are now in the 20% of America.
You don't need to worry, because you will never get my vote, and you don't live here.
I'm going to be your governor. Trust me.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, yes, I am.
God, if he was a... No, I'm not going to say
bad
it.
move.
That'd be racist. I'm not going to say it. Go ahead. Leroy, like, makes sense. Makes sense.
It's just such a bad optic. And I understand his perspective, and I might even support his policies. But to get into a petty shouting match with somebody who is clearly ignorant as to the true nature of the political spectrum is a bad optic, right? That's I'm gonna be here, ma'am. I'm definitely gonna be your governor. You're just gonna have to suck it up and live with it. No, like, just walk away. People like that clearly have no knowledge of what it is they speak, and they're just trying to bait you into this argumentative, these punchlines where they can use that against you at some point on Fox. So don't do it.
I got to agree with you on this one, because I like Byron Donalds, but this is why it's hard to take him seriously sometimes. Dude, there are people who are absolutely crazy, and they're not hard to identify. Usually they're women, and they're overweight, and they have nose rings or different colored hair. And those people need to be handled like the estrogen-laden, bovine-infested people that they are. They are fat cows. Leave them alone. There are such things as Nazi cows. And the problem I have is, what is a white liberal doing telling a black man what it's like to be black? You're a race traitor.
You don't know what it's like to be black. Wait,
do you
lady,
know how stupid this is? Folks, I had no idea there was so much about cows. We're going to have 2110 werewolves are next to be developed. No shit. I'd be a lycanthrope for sure. Just sure. Like, if I could be any like evil monster, it would be a lycanthrope, right? Just to piss on trees and shit on my neighbors' lawns and run around naked. That'd be awesome. Be really hairy and then not know what you did. Like, it would feel like college all over again, running around naked and blacking out. But I like Byron Donalds, but but Dowdy says he's just trying to reach others. You're not going to reach those people. Those people are
too far gone.
They're nuts. They're SSRI depraved. They need psychotropic drugs and full-time care. Can you imagine the balls on a human being to go up to an African American and say you're a race traitor? Do you have any idea the level of testicular fortitude that takes? That person must be a guy.
Yeah.
Because you just can't, there's no point. It's like, you guys yell at me for getting involved with the trolls. Why should he? He shouldn't reach he can't reach those people, because those people are unreachable. Their own parents couldn't help them. Just wipe them off the bottom of your shoe, because they're not worth it. Moving on to Kristi Noem. I thought the title was kind of cool in the pre-show. Kristi Noem. Here is a video of her speaking to a person who is about to be extradited from our country into somewhere, in a South American or Mexican country. I don't know. Here it is.
Yeah? How long have you been here?
I just got back like almost 3 years.
Why'd you come back?
There's no work over there.
No work over there, so you came
I was
here?
having problems, they know that my kids were over here from over here.
How many kids?
I have 3 kids.
Okay. And do you want them to grow up and be in the 18th Street gang too?
Nah, they're not. I got them going to high school right
You want them to be good kids?
Yeah, that's what I'm
okay,
here
so
for.
then,
That's what we're construction for.
then go deal with the consequences of breaking the law here.
Yeah.
Give them a good example of being a better person.
Sorry about
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, man. Said he was smoking weed out.
All right. So,
wow.
To be lectured by the Department of Homeland Security director. Okay. You know what? So you're out there in the field. I got to give her credit. But this lady, you got to stop.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
You first of all, you're going to fucking
Here,
kill somebody.
hold this while I take your picture and just look hot and look like you know what you're doing. But
And
you're
not only that, what the fuck are you being an Al-Qaeda freedom fighter holding this rifle like this in this picture? What is wrong with you? And what's up with the freaking Border Patrol agent who also looks like ISIS-K freedom fighter? What are you doing pointing your gun vertical? Because, lady, you're flagging his temple. Okay?
And
But
there's
let's
a
watch
shoulder
this.
strap on it, and it's not even around her shoulder.
Yeah, and your vest is not properly secured either. There's so many things wrong
They
with this
worried
picture.
too much about the flow of her hair over her vest, but didn't care enough to point the weapon down and away from that dude's head.
And I'm telling you this, if you're out there and you're firing that weapon system with that hair, you're going to catch one in the receiver and it's going to rip your freaking scalp off. Or you're going to catch hot brass down your neck because it literally is like a catch-all. I'm sorry, there's some basic things. If you're going to look like an operator, look like a warrior, you better figure out how to do it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this right here just is cringe.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with them. We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think is got charges of human trafficking. We
He just
earlier
took a
had an
step back.
swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
How many optics do you have on that weapon? Can you just, what situation are you vying for? You've got 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. That's
what
one
are
of
you?
those. That's one of those flip.
No, but he's got one down the main. I know what it is. I know what it is. And
shit.
You don't need all that shit.
No, you
I mean, how many? You've got 3 optics on here, dude. How many situations do you think you're going to get in long fire, short fire, and medium range combat? Seriously, I'm just what. It's just too much, man. It's too much. But the way you're holding that firearm, your hand shouldn't even be on it. It should be battle strapped to your chest. It should be hanging from a cantilever straight down. It should be across your body. Your vest should be secure. So what you did is you took a photo. Yeah, you took a photo and you said, "Can I borrow your vest?" And you put it on. Can I borrow your cool? I'm sure you called it a gun.
Can I borrow your pew pew?
Which why? But then you're flagging this guy, and I don't know what he's doing either. I mean, what is he doing? I mean, which branch is this guy in?
You know what he's
And
doing? I'll tell you what he's doing. We talked about it in the beginning of the show with the whole flexing thing. He's trying to do the old Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Yeah, look at that. You know?
Yeah, he's showing his bicep.
That's all he
Dude,
is.
if you want, I'll show you how to do that pose without looking like you're ready to join some sort of Muslim brotherhood. This is how the Muslims who are ready to take pictures in front of the ISIS flag or when they've captured a downed pilot. This is how they pose. Not an American. Learn how to handle your firearm. That's all I'm going to say. I don't care if it's a photo op. You look ridiculous. Okay, you look ridiculous. That's it. Kristi, go find the missing children, please. Go find the missing children. Deport more, photo op less. And I'm going to keep writing Kristi and Cash Patel and Pam Bondi.
That was a good hair day. I'd want my picture taken too if I had hair.
She's a good-looking woman, but I didn't hire you to do photo ops. I didn't hire you to be on Fox News. I hired you, and I did hire you. You work for us. Go arrest people. Go deport illegals. You guys, we've won 3 amazing court cases with the Supreme Court. I'm excited. Donald Trump is winning on the Supreme Court level, minus Amy Coney Barrett, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Quick, folks, we are desperate. $78 out of 300. Quick commercial, hopefully to stem up some support. We got 19 minutes to hit overtime.
The Dumb Show is built on real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and fearless. Big tech didn't like that. Facebook pulled our funding, tried to shut us down. But for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time. And we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving
If I
to
take
feel
you back
like a
to
burden.
July of
We want it to feel good.
1992.
So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation, we appreciate you more than words can say.
All right, folks, wrapping up into this, CNN has had to swallow, their pride.
Whoa.
Listen to this. They are, no, they don't swallow. They spit out for sure. Joseph said, did my donation go through? I don't know. Olivia's doing donations tonight. So, but now's the time to get them in, folks, because we want overtime. We got to have overtime. Want to have overtime tonight. Here is CNN. Not only are the S&P futures in the lower right-hand corner and the Dow, and listen, there's no doubt that there was fluctuation, but did you guys see the push in the market today? Got up to 1,400 in the positive. There are a lot of people who are resisting and investing and buying in when this is going too low. People are way too invested in this market to let it crash. Yeah, buy on the dip, dude. This is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing to lose money. What I'm saying is it's a great opportunity to get into the market. Trust me, if I knew what my income tax return was going to be yet, and if I was going to have to pay out the ass, I would have already invested. But I can't, so I got to wait. But trust me when I say, Mello, my tariff contribution, $51.99. Mel might save us. Where are we at? Ooh, $129.99. We are still $170 shy on our goal, folks. I don't think overtime's happening. We got 16 minutes. It might. People are going to have to dig deep. Here is a video, CNN just begrudgingly giving Donald Trump accolades. Listen to this, dude. This is like painful. It's so good. This is the bozo who I picked apart during the election who was wrong about everything. And I told you that he was wrong about it and just destroyed this guy. I used him for a toothpick. Well, he's back. And now he's just like, well, I don't know. Trump's kind of getting it done.
Right.
Listen.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s. The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Yeah, okay, so Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power. I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking, get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump, but what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way. And that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms. And he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
So completely differently, clearly they agree, but is it take it a step further? Do the people think he has too much? He's taken too much power.
Yeah, this I think is the real question, right? You can believe that he's doing stuff completely differently, but do you think that he has a little too much power or not? And this is interesting. So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much. But then you get 36% who say the right amount. Then you get 17%
That's
who say
53.
too little. So you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power.
Sounds like
or
a
the
mandate
right
to me,
amount of
Leroy.
power. So the argument that Donald Trump is, quote unquote, a king, that I don't think holds with the American people. It does hold maybe with 47%, but with the majority of folks, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power. And the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a sword.
It's the most honest thing I've heard from CNN in years.
That doesn't get much better than that, does it, dude? So here's the thing I'm going to say, and then to the 30 some odd percent, 36% it was, that said he has too much power. The SCOTUS just overturned 3 lower court decisions, and it took 9 justices to vote. 9 justices to either grant the power to the president or remove it from the president. But one lower circuit court judge can literally usurp the power of the people. Does that make sense to anyone? Does that sound like what the founding fathers wanted to do? Does that sound like a balance of power? Or does it sound like one branch of the government has more power than the other, which is antithetical to what the Constitution said with the separation of powers and checks and balances? So Democrats, is it really that the president has too much power? Or is it that federal judges have too much power? 650 of them, by the way. And it always seems they select the same guys to continue to prosecute Trump. Isn't that a conflict of interest to have multiple court cases ran and jured by the same jurist? It's interesting. Leroy, your thoughts on all this? Thank you, JD. Shout out to the hosts, the Wolves and the Cougars. Chat was fun tonight. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, that was good. You know, the left has been saying for the last, I don't know, since I was a child, that we're supposed to all trust the government, right? And that they're all for inflating the size of government to increasing the taxes, just as long as it's on people you don't like. And now they're telling us that Trump is in some way, shape, or form untrustworthy. Right. So again, this goes back to that whole hypocrisy thing, right? You can say for as long as you want that the government is trustworthy, but then all of a sudden shift gears and say, oh, except for Trump. Well, you can't have it both ways. And the argument that he has too much power, right, while in fact going through all of the motions to in fact give more power back to the people by way of getting rid of the Department of Education, by way of abortion, by way of reducing the number of regulations for small businesses to the tune of something like 2/3 he cut out of the Federal Register, which is the governing power that hangs over all small businesses. If that's the metrics by which we're trying to judge fascism, then I would have to say he is the worst fascist ever, because he's giving away all of this power.
Tammy Bonham says something very interesting. Maybe it's just me, but it sounds like Trump is shaking off the Constitution and using the laws to get shit done. But the interesting thing is that he is using the Constitution. That's the whole premise of this. Executive orders are within a tool that the president can use, especially when it is for national security and for securing our borders, which is what he's doing by bringing and shipping people out and deporting people. That's not breaking any rules. By systematically decreasing the size of the government and laying people off is part of his purview. The president of the thank you, Bubba, $5 overtime. We are $140 away from overtime, folks. You've got 10 minutes. I'll go by this clock, 12 minutes, even though that clock's 2 minutes off. My point is that he is utilizing. Now, I'm not a big fan of executive powers, but the difference is this: is that the difference between Trump is that he is following what the judges say. When the judges say you can't, he doesn't. Difference is Biden, when you look at the college forgiveness and debt forgiveness, when you look at some of the gender ideology in schools, when you look at when he went after parents as domestic terrorists, these things were found to be against the Constitution, and he did it anyway, and he found loopholes. The difference between Donald Trump is that he is using executive orders, but he's also staying his hand when the judges say so and complying like he's supposed to. But the fact that the Supreme Court is hearing these cases this quickly, the fact that some of these cases are only 2 or 3 weeks old, shows you that the Supreme Court is working towards Donald Trump's initiatives. Amy Coney Barrett is just something different. That woman hates Trump now. I don't know why. I really don't care. She can't be trusted. She is, choosing on the wrong side of history. But you should never, ever condone criminals in this country over its citizens. Go ahead, Leroy.
Thank you, Deborah Boggs, who donated $17.76, says, thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah. Well, we just found out that Judge Boberg is bought and paid for by the Democratic Party. So there's that. Right. So that's what's unconstitutional, is these district court judges which are using political lawfare to usurp the power of the people, which is ultimately the presidency. The president reflects the governors. Ultimately, the governors reflect the states, and they reflect all of us. His job is essentially to have the federal government assist the states in securing their sovereignty and securing their borders, and ultimately ensuring that the governors are getting what they need to run a successful contribution to the GNP of this country, that education is running correctly, that infrastructure is running correctly, that tourism and trade and throughfare is running correctly, that energy production, all of these things are under his purview with the assist of the federal government. He has to use whatever executive orders he can to pass the laws of this country and enforce them. That sometimes takes executive order because, as you can see, there are times where a president will come in and he gets nothing done simply because of the ineffectiveness of the system and the bureaucracy in the system. The president needs to work free and clear of it. Those are constitutional tools he's using. It is antithetical that it would be against the Constitution. It's exactly as it's intended to be used. Biden was different. He used executive orders to create policy and legislation. Very different than what Donald Trump is doing. Now, renaming the Gulf of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, if we want to say that that's unconstitutional, that's a ridiculous statement. If you want to say that he wants to go ahead and stop daylight savings time, that should be a piece of legislation. I agree with you. I think that's unconstitutional, and I think the SCOTUS would agree. So there's things that he can't do in the federal government, but those are the things that are kind of tomfoolery. The serious things are within the confines of his responsibilities.
I swear to God, I think I see like some level of genius to his madness, right? Which is to say that if I put forth a bunch of bills that are absolutely insane, right, that I know are going to get canceled down, but by throwing them out there, that is the bait that the Democrats will latch on to start those fights to say that is in fact unconstitutional. Yeah, I know. And while you're busy doing that, I'm going at Mach 3 on the other end of things, trying to get so much done that the left literally just can't keep up. So there's a level of I mean, I see that some of the stuff that he's done is in fact maybe, borderline unconstitutional, maybe, but it also seemed like those are not good. They're not winnable in court for one, and I really feel like they're just breadcrumbs to lead Democrats away from where the real fight is, and they're falling for it.
And they're not challenging the ones that are unconstitutional. They're challenging the ones that are constitutional under his directive. So they're deporting people. Tell them
right.
Okay, so anyway, moving on from that, we do have a couple other segments. Folks, you've got 6 minutes. Olivia is putting all donations in. We are $122 basically away. We're going to have a little bit of a miracle here. We got 5 minutes. If you're going to do it, you better do it now. Next video is fairly heavy, and we will be right back.
The Dumb Store is veteran-owned with a 5-star diamond rating for service and satisfaction. We offer quality products like coffee, shirts, hoodies, and hats, all made by veterans. Shop with confidence, backed by hundreds of 5-star reviews. Use code DUMB10 to save 10%. Visit thedumbshow.com today. Thank you for your support.
Get it, Leroy.
There we go. Thank you, Bobby Richardson, who banged out another $51.99. It says in my screen is a little blurry, so I couldn't quite read that. I thought it said the best show something.
I'm sure it said the best show on earth and Matt's amazing. Something like that. I missed it.
Probably.
I feel horrible. Let me see if I can replay it. My can't.
Screen was very fuzzy really quickly, and I apologize for that.
One of the kids is going to have to hit us up and tell us what was said. Or Bobby, send it in chat and I'll repeat it. We love you guys. We appreciate you. There is some information that you guys need to hear. You guys may remember this guy. You guys remember this guy? The Trump would-be assassin.
Oh, I do. Yes.
Ryan Routh.
Say he
Get this.
like a
August 20. Yeah, August 2024, attempted purchase of an anti-aircraft weapon. Fourth should admit Routh's August 2024 attempt to acquire anti-aircraft weapons as direct evidence of his assassination attempt. That month, Routh sought to purchase the devices online from an associate Routh believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. The two... Okay, best in the business. Bless you guys. Thank you, Bobby. Get him in, son, before 9 o'clock or we can't go into overtime. Folks, we're $70 away. We got to get it going. Hurry up. Hurry up. We are 3 minutes away. 3 minutes. The next is send me an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, or Stinger, and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine. Routh asking about the price and whether his associate could ship it to me. I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected. However, you are at war with those items lost and destroyed daily. One missing would not go noticed. Do you think Trump will be good for Ukraine? Is what he said here.
Wow.
So partnering with Ukraine to get themselves a Stinger missile. Somebody I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Jack Posobiec, but he had some things to say. I don't know the man, so I don't know what else to say. But I will go ahead and show this video. Here it is. Maybe. Computer. Let me reload.
Wait. Yeah. Computer.
Where? Shut up, Siri. Not talking to you. Let me try to refresh here. Weird. This hasn't happened. Why is it? It's not muted.
Last night in court down in the Federal District of Florida, Ryan Wesley Routh, the individual who was involved in the second assassination attempt on President Trump, was given a huge new piece of information. We've got now more evidence on his background, his dealings, and what exactly he was up to down there in the weeks and days prior to the assassination attempt on President Trump. Now, remember, this is the September 15th assassination attempt, not the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. This case has yet to actually go to trial. Tried to kill Trump on his golf course, but he was stopped. Secret Service fired shots at him. They missed or perhaps were deflected by this rudimentary body armor that he had built up in a hide site. And then he vanishes only later to be apprehended. What we do know about him was that he had extensive ties and travel within the country of Ukraine, and in fact participated in the Ukrainian International Volunteer Force. What was Routh doing in Ukraine? He was attempting to recruit individuals potentially from...
Folks, we got 3 minutes. 3 minutes to hit goal. We are $70 down, just FYI. We have nothing in the kitty. We are naked. We have zero. Zilch, nada.
Whoa. I am naked.
Afghanistan and other parts of the world, even Taiwan at one point he talked about, to bring them to the battlefield in Ukraine. We now know, and this is the biggest bombshell, that he attempted to contact a member of the Ukrainian military or someone associated with the Ukrainian military to purchase rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs, or Stinger missiles, known as an anti-aircraft missile. Now, what does this coincide with? Well, this time frame was back in August of 2024. What else did we hear going on in the fall, late summer and fall of 2024? We also heard those scares about President Trump's aircraft, Trump Force One. Members of Trump's campaign team were even using decoy planes during the campaign because they were worried about what? Anti-aircraft missiles. All of this leads to more questions as to who exactly was it that Routh was talking to? Who exactly was it that either didn't report this or put it back forward? And what did the U.S. government know prior to the assassination attempt on September 15th if this information was out there as early as August. Human Events Daily will never drop this story.
I got to give it to him.
That's
That was
not a bad
exceptional.
piece. I like that.
It was an exceptionally well done piece from Jack Posobiec. He's excellent. That was fantastic. That doesn't get much better than that. Not a lot of speculation, pure facts, some questions that gets your juices flowing, but doesn't solve the problem for you. I enjoyed it. I wish exceptional. If he did that all the time, I'll start watching him because that was really good. And I know he's inflammatory. I don't care. That was exceptional.
No, that was really well done. I like the fact that he left it open-ended, right? And he did, in fact, end it with like, hey, what do we know about what the government knew ahead of time, right? Just enough to plant that seed to go, all right, maybe somebody knew something that maybe they shouldn't. Not that you're ever going to find that out, but at least he planted that seed. I thought it was really well done. He stuck to the facts. Yeah. I liked it.
Well, folks, I hate to inform you, but we are officially in the 9 o'clock hour. We usually have a 5-minute buffer to designate overtime, but alas, looks like we didn't hit it. Now, I've been asked by Olivia to go to 9:05. I will go to 9:05. Actually, I did say we would go to 9:15, but at that point, we're going to have a hard stop. So if you have not had a chance to donate, now is the time to do that. Here is a quick, funny video from our good friend, our lovely friend, who we just so respect and admire, AOC. What a classy broad. Here it is. Enjoy this.
In the wilds of American politics, we encounter a remarkable tale of transformation. Our protagonist, a young idiotic bartender, embarks on an astonishing journey that takes her from behind the bar to the corrupt halls of Congress overnight. This young jackass, not known for her intellectual prowess, is driven by a fervent commitment to woke ideology. As she ascends into the halls of corruption, our young jackass is filled with idealism and vodka, determined to implement her idiotic ideas. However, the road ahead is fraught with challenges, and her extremely low intellect quickly becomes even more apparent. Her woke policies lead to chaos, and the area she represents becomes even more of a shithole. Illegal immigration surges, straining local resources. Poverty deepens, casting a shadow of despair over the community. Drugs and crime grip the region, leaving its residents regretting putting a bartender in charge of their city. It appears that our young jackass's lack of intellect and dumbass notions are screwing the very people she was supposed to serve. The story of this young jackass in Congress is a cautionary tale of putting a bartender in charge of more than making margaritas.
Jeez.
Pretty harsh, but funny nonetheless. Quickly, do you want to dispel the rumors of Bagram Air Base being taken over by the United States again, or do you want me to dispel them for you?
I actually am. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Folks, let me explain something. What would happen if the United States decided to take over Bagram Air Base by force? What would happen? And second, what would happen if Taliban gave us access to Bagram airspace or air base again? I would be shocked. So taking it by force, let me explain something. The United States is on the precipice of being involved in 2 proxies and possibly 7259. Mel hit it from my hot water heater fund. Oh shit, Mel, you didn't need to do that, sister. That's okay. You're full of hot air. Just blow on it. So, that was so good. It's just
keep it up.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. Don't quote the Holy Trilogy without doing it right ever again. Laugh it up, fuzzball.
I was never a Star Trek fan.
I'm going to punch you in the face. So here's what it comes down to. Do I believe the Taliban gave up Bagram? No. And do I believe it's a key critical point? And I don't believe that that's accurate. I don't think the Taliban would. Not for something for nothing. And especially since China's influence is there, supplying the Taliban with technology, drones, and other things. That's a big one. And second, strategically, Kabul airport, Bagram is absolutely essential for, and if America had a base there, I believe it's too much of a risk for Taliban. I don't think there's any reason for it. But who knows? The last thing I would ever assume is that Donald Trump, after struggling to get out of Afghanistan, would ever put himself in a position where he would put U.S. troops in Afghanistan again. Okay? So no, I don't think so. But it costs us a lot of money. Mel, thank you for. Mel says ass hat. I love you, Mel. Mel, we hit it. So let's do this. I really want to get your opinion on this video. I'm so glad we get to do overtime. Eric Erickson. I give Eric Erickson a hard time because this guy essentially owns stock in the International House of Pancakes, which he's a flip-flopper. I mean, the guy can't get on the right side of an issue. That there's never been a duplicitous situation that he hasn't loved. Okay. He absolutely loves to ride the fence. Like 1 minute he'll be like, tariffs will destroy the world. And Trump really looks like he knows what he's doing with tariffs. And you're like, dude, didn't just 5 minutes ago you say that Trump's a socialist? So here he is.
You know, we just got done talking about the hypocrisy too.
Yeah.
Like, so long as you keep consistent messaging, you can never be wrong. This is a classic example of that.
Yeah. And you know what's even better is that when you aren't afraid of taking a stand and being consistent and you still end up being right. God, that feels good. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show, folks. Here's Eric Erickson. Someone who I enjoy. He's using an RE20, which is a very good mic. I actually surrendered it for my SM7B, but it's LEEROY's mic if he gets off the schneid. Here it is.
I am so predictions happen. People
shit.
I am so unbelievably frustrated with the level of intellectual dishonesty of so many people on the right. When I see these guys out there who, when the stock market fell when Joe Biden was president by 1% or 2%.
Real quick, if you're planning for World War III defense, Afghanistan is not a strategic position that you need to be in. I'm just letting you know. Afghanistan gives us absolutely no strategic advantage whatsoever. The only thing it does is make us susceptible to, 40,000 crazy people who are willing to trade their lives for Allah, and very well armed because of Joe Biden too. I have no desire to be in Afghanistan, and it's not strategic. You have way too many positions in and around that area where we don't need it. And when you have the F-22 that has can be 500 miles away from a target before you even know it's there. Over the horizon targeting is our advantage, and certainly Afghanistan isn't something we need. Just FYI. But I appreciate it. I don't think Trump took Bagram. I don't.
Blasting Joe Biden, and now the stock market is back to where it was in 2023. They're like, it's no big deal. It's all digital. It's all fake. Screw your retirement. You don't need to retire anyway. This is good for us. The level of mendacity and dishonesty. The number of people who circulated a Larry Fink from BlackRock today, quote, saying it was a buying opportunity, and they deleted the part that it's a buying opportunity after he expects the stock market to fall another 20% because we're in a recession and it's going to get worse. I find that level of mendacity and lying and dishonesty to be utterly appalling, particularly among people you would think would show a modicum of intellectual honesty just for the sake of consistency, but they've got no shame. It's propaganda. You may disagree with me, but don't ever think I'm not telling you something that I don't believe. I always tell you what I believe and what I think, and I can be wrong, and I have a very good record of telling you when I am wrong. What I find so frustrating, though, are the number of people who like to point out when I've been wrong who never, ever will admit they're wrong. In fact, what I suspect is going to happen is we are going to have a recession, and I suspect when we get into the recession and it becomes real and apparent, people who said we're not going to have a recession will deny that the recession is because of the tariffs. Everything that's happening is predictable, and when those predictions happen, people instead decide it's some sort of conspiracy. It's some sort of great conspiracy. The globalists are conspiring to hurt Donald Trump. No, what's happening and playing out is exactly what everyone predicted would play out if you impose tariffs. It's not some sort of conspiracy.
Your thoughts on this right after I just addressed Bagram and you guys. People are saying in chat, well, there was a cargo plane, a C-17 flew in, and it went out of Doha's all-you-died military base. Yeah. Do you guys know we're still giving money to the Taliban? Was everyone aware of that? Do you know we're giving them billions a month? Okay. And you know one of our negotiation tactics for the exfil was to provide them with weaponry still? So having the Taliban, having CIA officials or having U.S. State Department, there may be some conversations taking place. But trust me, if Donald Trump was going to seize Bagram Air Base, that is a military command move. It isn't flying a C-17 with some state officials into that base. It is literally resupplying it and putting 5,000 troops on that base and having armed conflict with Taliban, because it would have to be a physical takeover. Now, if they're negotiating, that's possible. You might hear 2 or 3 weeks from now that Bagram Air Base is under U.S. control. I think that's a mistake. I don't think it's necessary. I know we spent billions, but we've abandoned bases before. We give billions of dollars to the Taliban. Okay? All right. Any other, what are your thoughts on Eric Erickson's piece there, Leroy?
So first of all, I do watch Eric Erickson. I listen to his show, and I completely agree with you. I find him to be off on some days and then on other days. In this case, specifically when he's talking about the economy, he's doing so from a non-economist point of view. And when I say that, what I mean is that this is something that we've covered on the show before, is that under Biden's administration, right, the reason that the stock market had hit all-time highs is because when businesses, okay, are doing their thing, but they're also having to deal with increased cost of materials, record high cost of labor, record high costs for transportation. When you get record high costs of doing business, right, what you're going to get at the end of A times B times C equals X, X is going to be record high profits. And that's all going to be reflected in the stock market. So when we're telling you that the stock market was artificially high, and that's due to inflation, and that's something that he's not acknowledging. I do agree with him in that, you know, there is a level of consistency that has to happen, but he's the one that's lacking in that. Something that I didn't know that was basically, first time I heard it today. We in the United States, we're paying just about $3 billion a day as interest on the debts that we have. Okay. We're paying about $3 billion a day just in that. Now, I'm not going to do the math for you right now and tell you what that comes down to per person, but
hold on.
This is something that I felt was really interesting. Whereas we are paying just about $3 billion a day in interest, the tariffs are bringing in $2 billion a day. Right. That should be enough for everyone to go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe these aren't so bad. Because what is a tariff? We've already covered this. The tariffs are basically the cost for other countries to do business within the United States so that they can partake in our economy, which is your purchasing power. So is this really a bad thing?
I don't think so. Why are we giving money to the Taliban? It's under, okay, so this is very, very complicated. The money we give the United Nations, some of that's portioned for humanitarian aid. Now, we've had these agreements when the Afghan regulars, the Afghan army, and the Afghani president was still in control. So we've transported $2.9 billion in cash, but it's supposed to go to humanitarian efforts, and it's supposed to be put into an escrowed account. And that account is supposed to only be withdrawn and dispersed to that Afghan bank and dispersed to the UN via V and the humanitarian groups. However, some of the funds have ended up in Afghan Central Bank, which then goes to the Taliban. So it's once again, it's the United States government throwing money at problems for decades and not addressing it in a effective way. Now, Donald Trump most assuredly could be addressing this because that's a lot of money, right? I mean, $5 billion. Why not? But this is what happens when Afghanistan, we did not prepare for them to lose control, and Taliban takes over. And because we don't want women beheaded and acid thrown on their face and, run over with cars and not allowed to go to public education, we have to appease the Taliban because they're in control. This is the problem, okay? We don't want to be there. We have no desire to be there. We shouldn't be there. Screw Afghanistan. Here's a good one. Thanks for the donations, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thanks for hitting goal. We're not done. We've got a couple more things to go over. Here is a New Jersey shopper says because of Trump's tariff, she just paid more than twice as much for groceries. What is she missing, Leroy? This should be interesting. Maybe you can help us identify what she is missing, even though it says at the top of the video. Just don't read it and cheat. Here it is.
Teterboro, Costco on one side, a Walmart right behind me. We've been talking to a lot of people who in many cases are doing their weekly shopping. And the common refrain we've heard is that prices were already going up and they are worried they could go up even more and that the consumer is feeling very stressed. We heard from one woman who even said that the same basket of groceries that she regularly buys has now effectively doubled. Take a listen.
I feel like the prices are ridiculous now. It's to the point where it's going to be harder for people to shop because the prices are just insane. Literally, yes, because last week I literally for the same amount of stuff that I bought, I literally paid like maybe $30-40, and now it's like $75 for like 3 bags of groceries. It's like completely insane.
Hey, Kelly, so we're here in Teterboro.
What a
those tariffs are they're hitting quick, dude. Those tariffs. I mean, did she also include the meth that she bought from the guy in the front of the store before she went out?
That's really interesting. There's a headline that's right now on First Post that basically says Trump slaps 104% tariff on China effective midnight. That's tonight.
Yeah, he ain't screwing around.
Right. I would say that I think she has to find a new place to shop. Maybe she went to Whole Foods instead of Aldi's. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but I'm saying something's up there. There's some facts that are not lining up there.
It's just it comes down to this. It's like the gas prices a month ago. People are like, my gas went up $1.75. I said, well, nationally it's down $0.25. So your local station is screwing you over. So go somewhere else. See, just because your local city
Don't buy it on a Friday, Saturday.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I mean, come on, man. Last video, Tim Burchett, somebody who Leroy and I have followed recently, really like him. Yeah. For Tennessee, he had some things to say about DOGE. This just dropped, and I figured I would include it in overtime. Here it is.
At Marjorie Taylor Greene chairs, she put me on. I always say I go in there. Hey everybody, Tim Burchett, just leaving the DOGE subcommittee at Marjorie Taylor Greene chairs. She put me on. I always say I go in there ticked off and I leave more ticked off. We were in the building over here, federal building. It was empty that we supposedly occupy. Huge downtown building, if you can see that. And in the parking lot, there's parking spots down here, which is unheard of. When you look out on the street, people are parked bumper to bumper. But anyway, we found out we paid $200,000 for solar powered picnic tables. We're not really sure what the solar power did. It might have had a charging station, I don't know. But the thing was, it was by the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and they bought them during COVID. If you can imagine that, when they're telling everybody else to social distance, rules for thee and not for me kind of thing. And then we were sitting in chairs in there, if you can believe this. It cost $2,700. It cost $1,600.
Mr. Burchett, there's a windscreen mic is not an incredible expense, bro. It plugs into your phone, and it'll take care of that.
$100.
Okay, Seriously, bro.
GSA headquarters, which oversees it, is you're not going to believe this, is 14% occupied. We got to clean this mess up. When I was mayor in Knox County, we got rid of a lot of vacant property that we didn't need, and we sold it. And guess what? It went back on the tax rolls, and that's exactly what needs to happen. You can imagine this multiplied all over our great country. It's in the billions of dollars, and we need to get it back on the tax rolls and pay down our debt. Dadgummit. Anyway, thank y'all for seeing me.
He says that all the time.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
He's so good.
He's fantastic. Leroy, why is Taiwan important to the United States?
So currently, Taiwan is the leading world's manufacturer in advanced IC chips. They make all of the great semiconductors that we use. So, yeah.
That's one of them. Strategic advantage. Also, it opens up the Philippines and Japan, which is essential to holding the South China Sea, which is the United States never want to be in an open sea battle again. And China has the second largest naval fleet in the world. And you certainly don't want to give them any quarter. Japan, Taiwan, strategic advantage. Philippines is great for having a soft spot for base, hiding behind the island. You give them the Philippines, you give them Taiwan, you give them Japan, you give them Australia. All of those things are not a good idea. The last thing you want is when you've got billions of people on China is to be able to move 1 billion of them in Australia, take over that continent. And now you have a very, very different situation when it comes to a multifaceted, multi-continent war. You have to keep the South Pacific. You have to keep the Sea of Japan. You have to keep the Taiwanese Straits. You have to make sure the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, all of those areas are not under Chinese control. Taiwan is essential to that because it lays a buffer between Japan and China, and that is why you do it. Also for infrastructure, through fair trade, and supply chain is also a huge advantage. And lastly, they are a democratic country. That's another reason. And you want as much democracy in a communist area as you can. Or if you all are going to get sensitive, a republic, even though it's not a republic. Okay, there's your answer. Taiwan is should Donald Trump protect Taiwan with every ounce of his body and soul? Yes.
Completely agree.
Everything. You take Japan off the hook. You put 2 carrier groups in there and you say, fuck around and find out.
If I'm not mistaken, he's actually come out and said as much. He has come out and said, we will defend Taiwan. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's pretty good for overtime. Well, I'm trying to think if I have anything else. Just one other thing. Let's see. I've got to have something in here. Something in my bag of tricks. Let me see. Maybe not.
Like the guy at the end of a concert, right, where everyone's clapping, right, and they want just one more song, and now you got to come up with, well, which one have we not done yet? Like, which one have we practiced that's going to sound good?
I think we should do thick as a brick. Thick as a brick. I was actually getting Jethro Tull, bro. Jethro Tull. I was going to do. Oh, this is good.
Guy.
Donald Trump goes after Adam Schiff, calls him Watermelon Head on TV.
My God.
Here it is.
And that's with all of the difficulties and all of the fake investigations and the Adam Shifty Schiffs. Can you believe this guy? He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. And the biggest head. We call him Watermelon Head. I'd say, how could that big fat face stand on a neck that looked like this finger? How can it? It was the weirdest thing. It's a mystery. Nobody can understand it. But he's one of the most dishonest human beings I've ever seen. And you know how we can allow people like that to run in office is a shame, but we did. He was in charge of the witch hunt. You know, he was in charge of the fake witch hunt with Russia. It was a made-up story. Made up. Think of it. They make up a story. They know it's made up. It's gone on for a year and a half, 2 years. Russia. I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew was that I taxed the pipeline that I told you about, that I put all sorts of sanctions and everything else. They never had a problem like they had with me. But it was Russia, 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 constant, as a method of, what they did is that was the complaint about why she lost an election, because crooked Hillary was expected to win the election. But they didn't see what we saw. We saw the biggest crowds in history gathering, only superseded by the crowds we just had. But here's a guy that goes out and he goes to an intelligence hearing or whatever you might call it, and it's supposed to be secret. He'd walk out. He'd either make a call off the record, this is crooked.
Wait, Lisa Park says, oh my God, Trump, sometimes you just need to zip it. The Dems aren't going to find that funny. Yet, Lisa, with all respect, we've spent 4 years trying to humor the Democrats and ease them into this transition. I just don't care. I don't care how much he offends them. I think Donald Trump should offend every single person because we all need a giant enema to learn how to laugh. And I don't know, when you call someone a Nazi and a dictator and a xenophobe and you call him anti-Semitic, that's worse than calling someone a watermelon head. I'm sorry. I couldn't care less what the Democrats think. I really could. I hope they all melt down even more. Lisa, that's just me. I'm just still bitter.
Get out of shifty Schiff. He's a shifty Adam. Or he just go out blatantly and have a news conference. And because it had to do with me and my family, he'd go out and have a news conference. And he said, no, you've got to remember, he knows it's a hoax because he made.
No, Lisa, in fact, you're right. I'm just childish and I don't care. I believe that the Democratic Party as we know it, if it ever reforms to the shape of something that resembles liberalism, I will fully stop insulting them. But all I have to do is say men and women's sports, abortion is health care. All I've got to say is that white people know better than blacks the oppression that they feel. All I got to do is say those things, that a man can be a woman, that 6-year-olds need to affirm their gender. Okay. All of these things I got to say, and I don't have to insult them. You know what I mean? So Trump's just got to say what Trump's got to say after what they put him through. Go for it, dude. You got the bully pulpit. You're the head and mother cheese. Go and make it happen, Mr. Trump. Go ahead.
The Democrats have effectively abandoned the middle class. They have abandoned all of the moderates by going far left to these insane ideas about transgenderism. And something I realized the other day is that they love to focus on the 1%ers, right? They love to focus on either billionaires, which none of us are. They love to focus on the 1% of people who might happen to own automatic weapons, which hardly any of us do. And they love to focus on rights for transgenders, which are effectively less than 1% of the population. And so they have given up voluntarily. They have given up all of the moderate stances. And so why should anyone be shocked at the fact that the Republicans were effectively able to roll in, regain that ground, and there's no room for the Democrats to come back, because if they reverse course on anything that they have done in the last 2 years,
you're playing into his hands. Yep.
Exactly.
It's that 80-20 split I was telling you about. He takes the 80 heavy policy and he makes the Democrats take the leveraged position, and they just look like fools. Lisa, you're right, hon. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just too petulant and weak-willed to care. You know what I mean? I think everyone who's registered, just like the Tea Party, I destroyed the Tea Party in 2014. I ridiculed Michelle Bachmann and Paul Ryan and Trey Gowdy and Jason Chaffetz and all those guys, the never Trumpers. I insulted them. You know, Islamic religion and Sharia law is coming to the United States. Our women are going to wear burqas. I'm like, have you ever been married? Not a chance in hell my wife's going to wear a burqa. She would castrate me in my sleep, Lorena Bobbitt style. So I made fun of that party, the anti-Muslim party, and they hated Obama, and they were just religious zealots. I despise them. Well, guess what? I hate this version of the Democrat Party. It is a joke, and it is so far from classic liberalism. So leave her alone, folks. She's right. I'm just too childish to care.
it up with Crooked Hillary. So he knows it's a hoax because we're dealing with human beings on the other side. It's a Donald Trump Jr., the son of the President of the United States, will spend many years in prison because of what he's done with Russia. Now, think of that statement on a human basis. I have a son, a young son, who is being told that he's going for prison on something he doesn't even know what they're talking about. He said, Dad, I don't know what's going on. They keep talking about I'm involved with Russia. I don't know anything about Russia, I swear to you, Dad. And yet, Adam Schiff goes out and makes a statement about a hoax that he made up, that he knows is false. How bad a human being do you have to be? They put my son and my family through that kind of trauma. These are bad people. These are sick degenerates.
And the worst he's got is watermelon head. You know what? I've heard some pretty foul things be said over the last 4 years. Watermelon head is by far the most innocuous, okay? I'm going to be okay with that. If someone called me a watermelon head, I'd tell them to F the right off. Here's a silhouette, folks, of our special guest that is coming. I will tell you this is an A-lister. This is a person that is going to knock your socks off. He's been on Joe Rogan multiple times. He's been interviewed by some of the greatest, even Sean Ryan, interviewed by Jocko Willink. He is a amazing human being. I cannot go into details. I'm going to hide it, but this show is coming. It is going to be in the next 30 days, we believe, right around March 9th in that area. Damani is going to be on. We've got him confirmed. We've got multiple others, but this is our mainliner. We are going to give 10% of the proceeds to the marathon. Chuck Pedersen is guaranteed to raise up to $10,000. He will match. This is going to our new studio. It's going to allow us to bring in special guests, fly people in to have interviews face-to-face, have a cigar, have a whiskey, whatever it would be. This is going to be massive, and it's going to be one you're not going to want to miss. We will make sure that we promote it. We are going to put advertising behind it, and we're going to try to have a huge show and fundraise for the Don't Unfriend Me show. And 10% of the show will go to this man's charity, which is a veteran-based one. Did anyone guess it right earlier? I'm not going to tell you. I will not reveal it. Leroy and I have held state secrets. You're not going to get it out of us. We're not going to slip. We're not going to make a mistake. You're never going to know.
Never get it out of me, man.
We are going to have the silhouette be this person's advertising for this, and then they are just going to show up, and you're going to get to see. I think that's the way you should do it, and hopefully you guys are ready to go. We are going to have some giveaways there too, and we're going to have a great time doing it. It's going to be awesome. Chris says congrats. No, thank you guys. You mean May 9th? Did I say March? I don't know. May. It's going to be soon. We'll let you know. It's coming. We have a lot to play and a lot to plan for, but we have confirmed that this gentleman will be here, and it is going to be awesome to have him here. Leroy, give us your 1 minute, and then we are signing off for the night.
This has just been a really great show. This is one of those shows where we're able to hit a lot of topics and go very quickly throughout everything. Still made goal. Thank you very much for everyone who helped to make that happen. Again, thank you so much to Still Point for supplying the awesome soundtrack that is the Don't Unfriend Me show. Thank you to Barry Morgenstein for helping us out with all of these guests that are now coming through. This is awesome. Thank you to Wimkin. You guys have been an amazing partner. And again, thank you to everyone who watches. Without you, we probably wouldn't be doing this. We probably would be, but it would be over the phone, and it wouldn't be as fun. So
people are asking, has the name been mentioned at all tonight? The answer to that answer to the question will come right after my message of my 1 minute. I want to say thank you so much. The show didn't run late. We hit goal. We're doing a new thing. If we hit goal, we stay on till 9:30. If we don't hit goal, we go away. We hit goal tonight by $2 by the hair of our chinny chin chin. So I will give you a clue at the end of this or answer that question. But I just want to say thank you, everybody. Lisa Parks, fantastic. Glad you had a good time. Matt's a tease. Yes, I am. I'm wonderful. It's wonderful you guys had a good time. Tomorrow night, me, Amy, and Olivia will be here with a very special guest. We have a person who is going to be awesome on the show, who has worked with awareness around fentanyl and has a wonderful story to share with you. Please make sure you make the show. It's 7 o'clock sharp. What?
Is this who is this?
I will tell you later.
All right.
We got to do the promo for it. Once again, we're keeping everything like kind of under wraps. We want to put the crumbs out there, but we don't want to like give everyone everything. So we'll have them on tomorrow night. It'll be exciting. Okay. Now, I am here to answer the question. Somebody said, was the name mentioned tonight in chat? And the answer is
adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend
Good night,
Me
Leroy.
Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels.
Damn, JD came out and just knew it. He's going to cut before he answers that. I would do it, but I'm a big D. Son of a bitch.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.